Chapter 2242. Countless people looked at the sky in shock, looking at the 6 emperor stars giving off heaven-suppressing power. This is actually true. There really is someone with 6 emperor stars. Before, I was quite skeptical about this, but now that I've seen it for myself, I can't help but believe it. The rumors aren't false at all. Heavens! 6 emperor stars. It's the first time I've seen 6 emperor stars descend. It's simply too terrifying. This is the most terrifying thing I've experienced in my life, and I'll definitely record it down so that my descendants will know about this. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Putting aside Hao Dao's massive god race emperor star, who would have thought that that person would have 6 emperor stars? No wonder their battle was even more terrifying than ordinary emperor stars. It turns out that their power was even more terrifying than ordinary emperor stars. That's right. Things changed so quickly, it was really too surprising. When that person became like a ghost immortal, I was a bit shocked. He used the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation to the extreme, and in the end, he even summoned the 6 paths of reincarnation. Forget about the underworld's higher beings being unable to summon the 6 paths of reincarnation. Even true ghost immortals are unable to summon the 6 paths of reincarnation, yet he did it. I've always been extremely curious about his identity, and now that the 6 emperor stars have appeared, everything becomes clear. That's right, now that the 6 emperor stars have descended, everything becomes clear. There's no need to explain or question anything, because he's the second king of kings. Everything can be explained now. Why was he able to obtain 24 god legacies? Why was God Kerr able to absorb his power and fate, become a peerless genius comparable to an emperor star, and why was he able to cause so many changes in the secret realm? In actuality, I already expected this. Only the legendary second king of kings would have such terrifying power. Also, how did he sneak into the secret realm? Why didn't those higher beings discover him? I'm so happy. I thought that the second king of kings wouldn't come, but now that I've personally seen such a terrifying figure, I'm simply too honored. When I tell others about this, countless people will be envious. Now that he's defeated Hao Dao's emperor star has disappeared, and it's impossible for him to defeat the second king of kings. The king of kings is the ruler of this stage. Yup. This generation's master of gods is definitely the most terrifying one out of all the masters of gods, and everyone is sincerely convinced. No one has any objections. Now I understand why he has such charisma and why even a peerless genius with an emperor star is willing to become his woman. Moreover, it seems that the king of kings has always been this dissolute, collecting peerless beauties from all over. I don't have any objections now. The king of kings has the right to have so many beautiful women. Even though his methods are quite shameless, he is the king of kings, so everything he does is acceptable. Countless experts looked at the 6 emperor stars in the sky in shock. They had never thought that the king of kings would actually come to the godly world and enter the secret realm right under their noses. This king of kings was indeed as terrifying as the legends said. As experts from the god world and god domain, they had felt disdain towards the other domain's experts not being able to deal with this little cultivator. Now, even if it was them, they would not be able to do it. An existence like him had heaven-defying fate, and even a true immortal would not be able to deal with him. Now, everyone understood that this person was the legendary king of kings, but no one knew his true identity. This made them even more curious. It was a pity that with the secret realm's protection, they could not do anything to Zhao Fu, and they could not forcefully destroy the secret realm like they did with the Outlander race. The godly world's world-suppressing divine artifact, the All-God Mirror, was there. Let alone higher beings like them, even a group of celestials would be blasted into nothingness. The world-suppressing divine artifact's power was unimaginable to celestials. Out of the many factions, a few of them had complicated expressions. They were quite shocked at Yu Chan's faction, and they had never thought that the man Yu Chan had chosen would be the King of Kings. Now that Yu Chan was by his side, she would most likely receive unimaginable benefits. Not only would she be able to obtain all sorts of material things, but she would also be able to obtain massive amounts of fate. They felt quite at ease and did not worry about what would happen to Yu Chan in the future. Before, they had not opposed this. As long as Yu Chan decided to do something, they would support her as long as she lived a good life. Moreover, they were quite concerned about Zhao Fu forcefully ravaging Yu Chan. Apart from the fact that Zhao Fu had told Yu Chan his identity, he had most likely used some sort of method, or else Yu Chan would not have submitted so easily. Back then, they had really wanted to kill Zhao Fu because Zhao Fu had looked down on them too much and had dared to ravage their holy daughter in front of them. This had almost angered them to death. Now, it seemed that Zhao Fu indeed had the right to look down on them, as they could not do anything to him. The most terrifying thing was just who he was. Hao Dao most likely came from the celestial world, as the Supreme Emperor Star was bigger than ordinary Emperor Stars. This was due to the influence of higher laws, and this Emperor Star gave off dense celestial qi. Hao Dao's identity was simply too shocking, but a celestial fairy from the celestial world had been defeated by Zhao Fu. This meant that Zhao Fu was even more terrifying than a celestial fairy, and his future accomplishments were simply unimaginable. Xin Qianhua's factions people looked at each other, not knowing what to say. They had been yelling for Zhao Fu to pay a heavy price, and for him to be cut into 1,000 pieces and suffer boundless pain. They had also wanted to kill everyone related to him. Now that they knew that he was the King of Kings, they had a massive impact on them. They did not know what to do, because did they really dare to act against such a person? If they did, the consequences would be devastating. Their faction, which had developed for a long time in the godly world, might perish just like that. With such severe consequences, they did not dare to rashly make a decision. That person would definitely have such power in the future. The Goddess Palace's palace master and the 4 elders' expressions were quite unsightly. On one hand, they hated men, and they hated Zhao Fu even more for tarnishing their goddess. On the other hand, they feared that Zhao Fu was too terrifying. The demon god emperor faction's expressions were the worst because they had the greatest enmity with Zhao Fu. The other factions had enmity with Zhao Fu because he had taken their women, but they were different. Zhao Fu had killed the emperor that they had nurtured for 10 years. This enmity was incredibly great, and it was on a completely different level from the enmity with the other factions. Chapter 2243. Before, they had decided that they had to kill Zhao Fu, and there was no room for negotiation. Only when Zhao Fu died would their enmity be resolved. However, this was a King of Kings, and they had personally seen how terrifying Zhao Fu was. They felt quite wary, and if they could become enemies with such a person, they should kill him as soon as possible. If they could not kill him, they should not offend him. Now, some people in the Demon God Empire cautiously suggested, "I think we should just forget about this matter. After all, God Ker's power and fate come from him, and one of them will definitely die. It's best if we don't get into this sort of trouble." That's right. Even though this will cause the Demon God Empire to lose face, it's better than becoming enemies with such an unimaginable monster. I also think that this is the best way to deal with this matter. There's no need to sacrifice the entire Demon God Empire for a single emperor. Moreover, Ker is someone we picked up, so even if we lose him, we still have other emperors. If we knew things would be like this, we wouldn't have allowed Ker to participate in the competition of gods and would have let him cultivate by himself. With the King of Kings' fate and power, he will definitely awaken the god race's Emperor Star and become incredibly powerful. It's all too late now. Even though it's a bit of a pity, there's nothing we can do about it. This matter concerns an entire faction, so we can't let our emotions affect our decisions. A beautiful woman expressionlessly stood by the side. Looking at the two people in front and behind her, she did not say anything. She understood that the entire demon god empire was wary of that person. As God Kerr's maidservant, she could not take revenge for God Kerr, as she was just an ant in front of that person. God Kerr had treated her very well when he was alive, and now that he had fallen to such a state without being able to take revenge for him, she felt quite bad. The final faction was Mielu's faction, and they did not know what to do. Back then, they had tried everything they could to kill Zhao Fu, but after finding out about Zhao Fu's identity, they hesitated. Even if they were the #1 influence in the divine realm and possessed formidable strength, they still hesitated when facing Zhao Fu. Clearly, they were too afraid of Zhao Fu's existence. Most importantly, Zhao Fu had the protection of the arcane realm. They could not do anything to Zhao Fu. If they did anything, Zhao Fu would definitely seek revenge in the future. I think we should just forget about it. Anyway, Lu Er didn't object to being his woman, and their relationship seems to be very close and harmonious. Yeah, that brat does have some charm. He won Lu Er's heart so quickly, and he also has the qualifications to become Lu Er's man. Who knows, he might even bring unimaginable benefits to our forces in the future. Yes, this is the best way to deal with it. In fact, even if he didn't expose his identity, Lu Er is already with him, and we can't do anything to him. It's better to support the two of them. Then it's decided. Don't mind what happened in the past and treat him as one of us. Within the arcane realm, Mielu and Lu Li looked incredibly shocked. They had never thought that Zhao Fu's identity would be so terrifying. He was the King of Kings who had shaken the entire heaven-awakened world. Their minds were completely blank, and their hearts were beating quickly. The other women also looked at the 6 emperor stars in the sky in shock. Even though they knew who Zhao Fu was, they had never personally seen the 6 emperor stars descend. Now that they had personally seen it, it was enough to suppress the heavens and earth, causing the sun and moon to dim and the laws to lock down. All creatures were filled with fear, which was why they looked so shocked. Tian Yu also looked incredibly shocked. He had thought that Hao Dao would definitely win because he knew how terrifying Hao Dao was. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would be even more terrifying than Hao Dao and use the 6 Emperor Stars to suppress Hao Dao. Sensing the Emperor Star's power, Tian Yu admitted that he was inferior to Zhao Fu and did not have any objections. Zhao Fu was not just slightly stronger than him but much more powerful. Lan Le looked incredibly disbelieving. She knew just how terrifying Hao Dao's identity was, and even holy sons did not dare to offend him. He was an invincible existence, and yet he had been defeated. However, the other person was also incredibly terrifying. It was the King of Kings who had shaken the world. Now that he had defeated Hao Dao, she understood that the King of Kings was even more terrifying than everyone had imagined. The 6 Emperor Stars in the sky started to disappear, and Zhao Fu's power quickly dissipated. Chi. Suddenly, Zhao Fu coughed up a large mouthful of blood and almost fell to the ground, his body in immense pain. Zhao Fu had not won this battle easily, and his body had been heavily injured. It was even more severe than he had expected. Zhao Fu first used the power within his body to heal his injuries. Because Zhao Fu's clothes had long since been destroyed, Zhao Fu took out a new cloak to prevent his appearance from being revealed. Following this, Zhao Fu walked to the crater and looked at Hao Dao. Hao Dao's injuries were even more severe, and he lay on the ground, unable to move. However, he was still conscious and had not fainted. Hao Dao raised his head and looked at Zhao Fu as he bitterly laughed. How could there be such a terrifying person like you in the heaven-awakened world? 6 Emperor Stars descended, causing Hao Dao to fall into a state of shock. He had never seen anyone with 6 Emperor Stars before, and he had to endure the power of 6 Emperor Stars. This was a massive blow to him. This trip to the heaven-awakened world had greatly surprised him. He had never thought that there would be such a terrifying person in the heaven-awakened world. He had not underestimated the heaven-awakened world before, but he had still underestimated it. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. This Hao Dao was quite a good person, so he replied, "You're also quite powerful, and you're the most powerful person I've ever met. I've never used 6 Emperor Stars to deal with a single person before." Hao Dao could not help but laugh as he said, "But I still lost to you, you're a monster." Zhao Fu smiled as he walked over to Hao Dao and fed him a medicinal pill, while Hao Dao smiled and thanked him. Following this, the others also came. Lan Lo hurriedly helped Hao Dao up from the ground and asked about his injuries with concern. Hao Dao explained a few times, saying that he was fine now. Mialu and the other women came to Zhao Fu's side and stared at Zhao Fu. This man's power shocked them all. Zhao Fu lightly smiled as he asked, "What is it?" Mialu went up and hugged Zhao Fu as she lightly harumphed, "So you're so terrifying. No wonder you were able to suppress my Emperor Stars. You didn't tell me your identity. You just wanted to see how shocked I was, right?" Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged Mialu and replied, I indeed had that thought." Mialu pouted and patted Zhao Fu. Chapter 2244. Xin Qianhua smiled as she said, "Husband, how are your injuries? You've already defeated Hao Dao and become the final victor. As long as you ascend to the 10,000 God throne, you will be this time's Lord of the Gods." Yu Chan also said in anticipation, "Husband, this time's throne of the gods is not simple at all. The Lord of the Gods' legacy has appeared, and your 10,000 gods' power can become a true sovereign's power." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, "Let's go now." Following this, Zhao Fu brought everyone to the vicinity of the God throne. There were 24 god statues around them, giving off a massive rainbow-colored barrier. Apart from the victors, no one else could get close. As long as they took a step closer, they would be attacked by the 24 god statues, and there was basically nothing that could block them. Mialu and the others could only stop nearby. Apart from them, Tianyu, Hao Dao, and some others had also come, wanting to witness Zhao Fu become the Lord of the Gods. Everyone outside the secret realm fell silent as they looked at the scene in the mirror with looks of anticipation and excitement. Zhao Fu looked at the god throne that was giving off a golden light and could not help but feel a bit of anticipation and nervousness as he walked forwards. The powerful rainbow-colored barrier did not stop Zhao Fu, and it was like a thin membrane that allowed Zhao Fu's body to easily pass through and walk towards the god throne. After a while, Zhao Fu arrived in front of the god throne and stepped onto it. He felt a wave of divine power supporting his body, as if a layer of golden light was shining down on Zhao Fu's body, giving off a holy and dignified feeling. Zhao Fu stepped onto the stone steps, and waves of divine power continuously supported Zhao Fu's body, causing the golden light around Zhao Fu's body to become even brighter. Finally, Zhao Fu arrived in front of the god throne with his back facing countless people. The golden light around his body was extremely intense, as if it was a boundless light that illuminated the heavens and earth. It was as if he was the Lord of the heavens and earth, giving people a feeling of wanting to kneel and worship him. Zhao Fu looked at the golden god throne in front of him and revealed a trace of a smile as he turned and sat on it. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 24-circle magic formation gave off an extremely terrifying aura and started to spin, causing terrifying power to spread out. All of the god world's power and karmic luck surged toward him like a tide, releasing world-shaking ripples. Heaven and earth dimmed, and the sun and moon dimmed. Someone was walking on a path. Someone was sitting at a table chatting with others, someone was chasing wild beasts, someone was reading a book, someone was fishing, and someone was picking fruits from a tree. At this moment, everyone stopped what they were doing and raised their heads to look at the sky. Tai Shi, Yu Shi, Silverstone, and the others also sensed the terrifying ripples and came out of the Pantheon Palace. Looking at the changes in the sky, they understood that the contest of the gods had ended. Now, it was the disturbance caused by the Master of the Gods ascending to the throne of the gods. After all, as the Master of the Gods, he would be the master of countless godly spirits and would receive all of the god world's fate and power. He would become the most prestigious person in the god world, and no one would be able to compare to him. Because the Master of the Gods only took place once every 9 years, they had experienced it many times, so they were quite familiar with these ripples. The metal goddess looked at the sky seriously and said, "The contest of the gods has ended. I wonder who will become the Master of the Gods. Will it be our husband?" The jade goddess lightly laughed as she said, "Of course it will be. Our husband is so powerful and will definitely become the Master of the Gods. We just need to believe in him and wait here for him to come back." The bronze goddess said worriedly, "Even though I believe that husband will become the Master of the Gods, that's the center of the god world, and all of the geniuses in the god world will go there to participate. Becoming the Master of the Gods will be too difficult." The metal goddess nodded as she said, "We minor godly spirits don't understand how terrifying those geniuses are. Their power is dozens of times greater than ours, and they have the power to destroy everything. I'm quite worried that husband will fight with them for the Master of the Gods." The silver goddess corrected her, saying, "I didn't want him to go from the very beginning. It would be better if he stayed by our side. Now that our faction has developed so quickly, we will become even more powerful with him." The jade goddess smiled as she said, "You should believe in husband. With husband's power, he definitely won't be any weaker than those peerless geniuses. He'll definitely be able to defeat them all and become the Master of the Gods. Think about it, we men will be the Master of the Gods in the future." The bronze goddess lightly laughed as she said, We should believe in husband and not worry. We should believe in our husband and not worry. We all know how powerful our husband is. No one is a match for him." The metal goddess looked at the sky and did not say anything. The metal goddess coquettishly smiled as she said, "Husband has been gone for so long, and I've missed him for a long time. I really want to be toyed with by him. If husband breaks through in his art, that would be the best present for us, and we can enjoy ourselves to our heart's content." These words caused the women's faces to become slightly red. However, they indeed missed Zhao Fu and wanted to be loved by him. Apart from the countless people in the godly world who sensed these ripples, countless people in the godly domain also sensed them. After all, they were also from the god race, but they lived in the godly domain and did not actually live in the godly world. The Master of the Gods was the master of all god race, so they also sensed these ripples. The godly domain did not have the ripples from the godly world, as the godly domain belonged to the heaven-awakened world and not the godly world. Apart from the god race in the godly domain, the experts from the human domain, outlander domain, demon domain, devil domain, ghost domain, water domain, and spirit domain also sensed these ripples. This was something that could shake the entire godly world, and with their powerful strength, it was impossible for them not to sense it. They felt quite curious as to which genius from the god race would become the Master of the Gods this time. The Master of the Gods was the most powerful person in the godly world, and his future was unfathomable. They definitely did not have to personally go and see, they only had to send people to investigate. When the news came back, they would know who had become the Master of the God. Out of the many experts in the underworld, only a few people cared about this matter. For some reason, the 6 paths demon images had been revealed, and the terrifying auras that they gave off caused the entire underworld to fall into panic. What was even more terrifying was that the 6 paths of reincarnation that the 6 paths demon images guarded gave off terrifying ripples, which rarely happened. This was an incredibly important matter. Most of the underworld's experts and factions were focused on this, and they were investigating what was going on. As such, they did not pay too much attention to the godly world. Chapter 2245. Sir, it's bad. Hurry and take a look. That orb of blood is going through changes again, a panicked voice suddenly sounded out. It was a young man who had rushed into a room and said to a gentle-looking middle-aged man. Hearing this, the gentle-looking middle-aged man's expression fell, and he quickly said, "Quickly notify the Heaven Spirit Financial Group's experts and tell them that the divine blood is going through changes." The young man Dien immediately ran out. The gentle-looking middle-aged man hurriedly left the room and went to a large hall. This hall was made of white jade and did not have much inside, making it seem quite spacious. At the center of the hall was a complicated magic formation that gave off a faint light, and there was an orb of blood floating around the magic formation. The gentle-looking man immediately looked at the orb of blood and looked quite shocked. It gave off a white light and a terrifying divine might spread out. Even though the gentle-looking man was not from the god race, he could sense how terrifying that divine might was. It was as if it reigned over the entire god race. Following this, the Heaven Spirit Financial Group's experts heard about this and hurried over. It could be seen just how important this matter was. After coming to the hall, everyone looked at the orb of blood and looked quite shocked. The people of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion had been sitting around doing various things as usual. Some were reading, some were conversing, and some were calculating. However, at this moment they seemed to have sensed something. Their expressions changed drastically, and they hurriedly gathered around the Heavenly Mysteries apparatus. The Fate Sovereign, the young woman in white, also hurried over with a serious expression. Everyone could not help but ask, "Fate Sovereign, is that person going to awaken another Emperor Star? He's giving off terrifying ripples?" The young woman in white nodded seriously before looking at the Heaven Secrets instrument and saying to herself, "After so long, there's finally information about him. However, he's going to awaken another Emperor Star right after appearing. This is quite shocking." Seeing the young woman in white nod, everyone felt quite shocked. That person already had 6 Emperor Stars, and now that he was going to awaken another Emperor Star, that would be 7 Emperor Stars. This was simply too shocking. Boom, 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 boom. 6 massive explosions sounded out as the 6 Desires Celestial Sect's 1,000-meter-tall stone statues gave off terrifying auras, causing the heavens and earth to dim and causing everyone to feel a chill. What's going on? Why are the 6 Desires stone statues giving off such terrifying ripples? Did they sense something again? The only person who can cause the 6 Desires stone statue to emit such a terrifying fluctuation is that immortal evil. I wonder where he has been hiding for so many years. Even the 6 almighty figures can't find him. That immortal bastard is causing more ripples. He's becoming more and more dangerous, but we can't destroy him. If we don't do anything, I feel like the 6 Desires Celestial Sect will definitely be destroyed by him. Yeah. That immortal evil is too great of a threat. We have to think of a way to get rid of him. We definitely can't let him continue growing. We have to kill him. What I'm concerned about now is what kind of fortuitous encounter that immortal bastard obtained to actually be able to cause such a terrifying fluctuation. That fortuitous encounter is definitely not small. Yes, I really wonder who that celestial evildoer is. He must be a peerless genius, which is why he has such terrifying potential and obtained such terrifying fortuitous encounters. This time, the 6 Desires demonic art has really found a good successor. In a royal palace, a devilishly handsome young man was indescribably on top of a beautiful woman. The woman had a lewd expression, and there were many other naked beauties around them. Their faces were flushed red as they panted. The devilishly handsome young man's name was Jun Mo, and he was the successor of the 6 Desires demonic art. All these years, he had been hiding from the pursuit of the 6 almighty figures. He didn't know why the 6 almighty figures of the 6 Desires Celestial Sect wanted to kill him. He didn't seem to have done anything to make them so crazy. Although he felt strange, Jun Mo understood that no matter what the reason was, as long as he was found by the 6 almighty figures, he would definitely die. He could only hide everywhere in the spirit realm. These years, his growth speed was also very fast. Right now, he was already comparable to a peerless genius. Not only was his talent shocking, but it was also because of the power of the 6 desires demonic art. As long as he continued to find powerful women to do it with, his strength would continue to increase rapidly. This was a cultivation method that was easy and simple. It was a cultivation method that countless men dreamed of. Because he had obtained the 6 desires demonic art, Jun Mo also knew some things. These were the greatest secrets of the 6 desires demonic art. The cultivation technique of the 6 desires celestial sect, which was the 6 desires celestial art, was not a complete cultivation technique. Instead, it was missing a part of the cultivation technique. Although the 6 desires celestial art was already a very powerful cultivation technique, because it was missing that part, its power was greatly weakened. If it was the complete 6 desires celestial art, its power would be more than 10 times more terrifying than the current 6 desires celestial art. Only the complete 6 desires celestial art was a true cultivation technique. It was very likely that it required some kind of powerful inheritance in order to cultivate it. Back then, the shocking young sect master wanted to perfect the 6 desires celestial art, so he created the 6 desires demonic art based on the foundation of the 6 desires celestial art. The 6 desires celestial art was a cultivation technique that cut off all emotions and desires. The 6 desires demonic art walked the path of indulgence. Because the 6 desires celestial sect discovered this, they didn't kill off the 6 desires demonic art. However, after so many years, there had been no progress in perfecting the cultivation technique. Moreover, this matter caused the 6 desires celestial sect's reputation to become worse and worse, and they even provoked many enemies. This caused the 6 desires celestial sect to launch a plan to completely resolve this matter. What they didn't know was that there was progress in the 6 desires demonic art. After so many years, countless people who cultivated the 6 desires demonic art had worked hard, and it was finally about to be perfected. It was also because of this that Jun Mo's power had become very terrifying. Right now, the 6 desires demonic art that he cultivated was far more powerful than the 6 desires celestial art. As long as he was given enough time, he would definitely become a powerful immortal. At that time, the 6 desires celestial sect would be destroyed. It could be said that generation after generation of people who cultivated the 6 desires demonic art had mostly been killed by the 6 desires celestial sect. This hatred could be said to be carved into their bones and could not be erased. Since Jun Mo had inherited this cultivation technique, he had also inherited this intense hatred. Adding on the fact that he had been chased by the 6 higher beings, he had become even more furious and hateful. Right now, what he wanted to do the most was to kill his way into the 6 desires celestial sect, kill all the men, and rape all the women. He wanted to enjoy the taste of all the women in the 6 desires celestial sect. Chapter 2246. These women who cultivated the 6 desires celestial art were great tonics for him. They could make his power even purer and more powerful, and with them, he would not encounter any obstacles. After all, even if there were any obstacles, he would be able to overcome them by doing it with them. It was just that simple. In Jun Mo's eyes, the 6 desires celestial sect was a place filled with countless treasures. Of course, with his current strength, he could not do it. Moreover, the 6 desires celestial sect had always been on guard against this, so it was quite difficult to do it. Right now, this palace was only the palace of a small country. That country's king was currently lying on the side, bleeding. He seemed to be seriously injured, and he was looking at Jun Mo with a face full of hatred and anger. His concubine was June Mosie's slutty beauty. A few hours ago, June Mosie had brought many women to this kingdom. He had heard that the princess here was very beautiful, so he had directly barged into the palace. In a few moves, he had easily taken care of all the guards and heavily injured the king. After that, he had directly done it with the princess and the women. The kingdom's countless soldiers had gathered outside the palace, but because they were worried about the king's safety, they did not directly attack. Hearing Wang Fei's dissolute voice ring out from the palace, everyone naturally understood what had happened and showed angry expressions. Suddenly, June Mosie seemed to sense something and stopped. He did not know why, but he suddenly felt an intense sense of danger. This sense of danger did not come from the 6 higher beings but from an extremely dangerous existence. It was as if a peerlessly ferocious beast had set its eyes on him, making his hairs stand on end. Right now, June Mosie could not determine who that person was, but that person was definitely incredibly terrifying. As for why he felt this sense of danger, it was because the 6 desires demonic demon within his body had sensed that person. He did not know why the 6 desires demonic demon could sense that person's existence and why it felt so afraid. June Mosie guessed that it was because he had used up the 6 desires demonic art. After all, the 6 desires demonic demon would only react to things related to the 6 desires demonic art. Now, June Mosie could not understand why this was related to the 6 desires demonic art. He was 100% sure that he was the only inheritor of the 6 desires demonic art, so it was impossible for there to be 2 inheritors of the 6 desires demonic art. What is it? I want more, the beautiful woman said lewdly when she saw June Mosie stop. June Mosie chuckled and continued to ravage the beautiful woman. He remembered that just a moment ago, the beautiful woman had sworn that she would rather die than submit, and that she was willing to do anything for the king. However, in just a short while, she had become like this in front of her man. June Mosie was very confident that no woman could resist the power of the 6 desires demonic art. The king's heart was filled with pain. Seeing his beloved concubine do it with someone else, if his concubine resisted, he would feel a bit better. However, his concubine was like a slut doing it with that man, and he really couldn't bear it. Seeing the king's expression, June Mosie felt quite excited and continued to intensely do it with the beautiful woman. He quite enjoyed doing it with his wife and daughter in front of other men. The beautiful woman was also very excited in front of her husband and other men, and she was doing it with June Mosie. After a while, June Moxie lay on the bed and hugged the beautiful woman and the other women, thinking about what had just happened. Now, he had 20 or so peerless beauties by his side. His standards were quite high, and he did not like ordinary women. As such, there were all sorts of peerless beauties by his side. There were princesses, concubines, sect disciples, family members, other people's mothers, and other people's wives or fiancées. A mature beauty lying next to him said caringly, "Husband, what are you thinking about?" June Mosie explained what had just happened. The women did not understand what was going on, and the mature woman smiled as she said, "Husband, you don't need to worry too much. Even 6 higher beings can't do anything to you, so why would you be afraid of them? As long as you continue to grow like this, you'll definitely become a peerless expert." The concubine said flirtatiously, "Then you can stay here. I'll serve you, and you can continue to cultivate." June Mosie understood this, and he lightly smiled as he said to the concubine, "That won't do. My dream is to collect all of the peerless beauties in the world. I can't stay here forever. I'll be leaving soon." The concubine asked worriedly, "Will you bring me along?" June Mosie looked down at the concubine's face in his arms and smiled as he nodded. "Your beauty and body feel quite good. You have the qualifications to stay by my side. I'll take you away later." The concubine gave a beautiful smile and looked at the heavily injured king as she smiled and said, "Husband, you can't let him off just this once. You can't let him off this time. No matter what, he was my last man. If he dies, I'll feel bad." June Monsieur smiled as he said, "That'll depend on your performance." The concubine flirtatiously smiled, and started to serve June Monsieur. The king was so angry that he coughed up a large mouthful of blood and fainted. Within the godly world, Zhao Fu sat on a 100,000-meter tall throne with his hands on the armrests. His body gave off boundless golden light that illuminated the surroundings, and he gave off a massive aura that was dignified and holy, as if he was a god-emperor. In the sky, a magic formation with 24 circles slowly spun, gathering all of the godly world's power and fate. It gave off boundless rainbow-colored light and a power that shook the heavens and earth. This power continuously gathered, and the power it gave off became more and more terrifying. The rainbow-colored light covered the world, and the world seemed to stop. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as an enormous rainbow-colored pillar of light descended from the magic formation and landed on the throne. Overflowing godly world's fate and godly lord power flowed into Zhao Fu's body. This power was simply too great, and Zhao Fu's body and soul trembled as he entered an ethereal state. That massive power continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's body started to go through changes. After a while, the pillar of light landed on Zhao Fu's body and continuously poured power into him. The magic formation also continuously gathered the godly world's fate and power, and terrifying ripples continuously spread out. In the end, the pillar of light gradually dissipated, and a powerful rainbow-colored light shone out from Zhao Fu's body. The aura he gave off was extremely terrifying, and time seemed to freeze. The feeling he gave off was that he was the source of the destruction of the world. Everyone stared at Zhao Fu, not knowing what would happen next. Chapter 2247. Suddenly, a black crystal flew out of Zhao Fu's body and floated in front of Zhao Fu, giving off a faint demonic light and a powerful wave of divine power. This divine power seemed to be formed from countless strands of divine power, and it gave off the aura of the Lord of Gods. This was God Ker's power, and this crystal was God Ker's divinity. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the divinity floating in front of Zhao Fu gave off a massive wave of God Ker's power and boundless demonic light, forming a formless might that slowly fused into Zhao Fu's body. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out, and it was as if a missing piece had been made whole. An incredibly terrifying wave of divine power flowed out of Zhao Fu's body. At the top of the throne, countless rays of golden light shone out. The person sitting on the throne started to blur, and the space around him started to distort. A huge pressure descended on the entire secret realm. The countless creatures within the secret realm felt their bodies sink, and their bodies and souls became icy cold. They felt incredibly small, and they couldn't help but feel terror as they looked towards the center of the secret realm. The divinity that had fused into Zhao Fu's body was slowly melting and fusing into Zhao Fu's divinity. The might that Zhao Fu gave off became stronger and stronger, and it felt as if it was going to suffocate people. The people outside the secret realm did not know what was happening. In the past, those who had obtained the Lord of Gods only needed to sit on the throne and receive the godly world's fate and the baptism of the godly world's power. Now, it seemed that things were not as simple as they had thought. As Ker's divinity continuously melted, the wave of God Ker's power also continuously fused into Zhao Fu's divinity until it completely fused into Zhao Fu's divinity. After the rainbow-colored divinity in Zhao Fu's mind absorbed that wave of God Ker's power, it continuously trembled and gave off boundless divine light as well as powerful waves of divine power. It was as if it was going through changes. Before, Zhao Fu's divinity was made from a rhombus-shaped crystal, but now Zhao Fu's divinity's shape had changed. It was now round, and there were countless small square faces on its surface. It was not made of crystal, but it was made of an even denser, firmer, and purer material. Boom! In the instant that the Godhead completed its final transformation, a terrifying wave of God power gushed out like a fountain, and in just a moment, it seemed as if the entire world was submerged in it. It was as if the world had really been locked down, and everything seemed to have stopped. Countless people's bodies, bloodlines, Godheads, and Godforce felt an extreme sense of fear. Countless people's bodies, bloodlines, divinities, and divine power all felt immense terror. This wave of divine power was the power of a ruler, and countless godly spirits were like ants in front of this power. This wave of divine power was perfect God Ker's power, and it was more than 10 times more powerful than the 10,000 God Ker from before. It was a true sovereign power, and it was not any weaker than the reincarnation path's power. Moreover, this 10,000 God Ker was Zhao Fu's unique power, and it was a sovereign power that he had created. This could be said to be a miracle because Zhao Fu's own power had not reached the sovereign level yet, but he had created a sovereign power. If word of this got out, countless people would be incredibly shocked. After all, sovereign power was very rare even in the celestial world. Within the heaven-awakened world, there were only 2 types of sovereign power. One was the 6 paths of reincarnation power and the other was creation God power. Both of these powers came from world-suppressing armament. The 6 paths of reincarnation suppressed the underworld and had 6 paths of reincarnation power, while the Hautian mirror was the all-God mirror and had creation God power. Zhao Fu's current power could be said to have originated from creation God power because it was formed from countless strands of divine power. However, Zhao Fu's divine power was different from creation God power because whether it was the power of the 24 core gods or the power of the countless godly spirits, they had all changed and had different attributes. The source of 10,000 God power came from Zhao Fu's source energy, so it was different from creation God power. The fact that Zhao Fu had 2 sovereigns' powers was quite shocking. Right now, even Hao Dao, who had a noble status, did not grasp any sovereign's power. From this, it could be seen how rare and precious the sovereign's power was. After his divinity went through changes, the perfect God Ker that it gave off caused Zhao Fu's body to go through changes, and his bloodline also went through shocking changes as a God race bloodline was born. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu, who was sitting on the golden throne, exploded out with a terrifying power. His body gave off boundless divine light that covered the entire heavens and earth. The light was incredibly blinding, and it was impossible to see anything clearly. It was as if there was a human-shaped rainbow sun on the throne. On the ground below the throne, figures of people appeared. There were elderly people, children, men, women, beasts, birds, trees, flowers, and grass. All of them gave off a godly spirit's aura. There were many of them, and they covered the entire ground. Tian Yu and the others were quite shocked at the figures that had appeared around them. These figures looked devout, respectful, fanatical, and worshipful as they looked at the person sitting on the golden throne. They then knelt down as if they were submitting to the ruler of the gods. Within the boundless starry sky, a white star seemed to sense something and gave off a terrifying aura. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the sky seemed to collapse. Countless cracks spread out, covering the entire sky. Following this, the entire sky turned into nothingness and became jet black. Countless rays of white light shot out, dyeing the entire sky white. A boundless divine might descended, as if it was a godly lord that ruled over all godly spirits. The massive might weighed down on the countless godly spirits, and it was not just Tian Yu and the others within the secret realm who felt this massive might. The countless people outside the secret realm also sensed this massive might, causing their expressions to fall. Some of the weaker people were unable to resist at all, and their bodies trembled as they knelt on the ground in terror. Some experts gave off powerful energy to resist that terrifying might. A massive white star giving off white light and a heaven-toppling aura slowly descended from the sky. the heavens and earth seemed to collapse as everything shattered, unable to withstand this boundless divine might. In the end, the white Emperor's star stopped in the air, and its white starlight shined in all directions, dyeing the entire world white. It gave off a dignified, solemn, devout, and worshipful aura, as if a godly emperor had descended, causing the heavens and earth to submit and all gods to kneel. Chapter 2248. Countless people looked at the white star in shock. Even though they had long since expected that person to awaken the god race's emperor star, personally seeing the god race's emperor star descend, they could not help but feel shock. At that moment, the countless experts who had come out of the god world sensed this massive ripple, and the heaven-awakened world and underworld's experts felt quite shocked. The god race's competition had just ended, and the god race's ruler had appeared, gathering the entire god world's fate and power. Now that the god race's emperor star had descended, the ripples were even more terrifying. It was evident that someone had used the god race's fate to awaken the god race's supreme emperor star. Who was this person? From these terrifying ripples, it was definitely not something that an ordinary person could do. Moreover, why did these ripples feel so familiar? Wait. At that moment, countless people thought of something and felt quite startled. Could that person have gone to the god world? The person who had awakened the god race's emperor star was him? Didn't that mean that person had 7 emperor stars? This was just too shocking and hard to believe. However, the key point was that this terrifying aura belonged to him. The higher beings and teachers of the human domain's Emperor Path College looked up at the sky, feeling quite shocked. They now understood how terrifying that person was. Luckily, Emperor Path College had a good relationship with him and had not done anything to him. They had even given him the evil spirit Abyss Flower Ancestor's legacy, allowing him to awaken the demon race's supreme emperor star. This was a debt of gratitude to him, and in the future, he most likely would not become enemies with Emperor Path College and would even help them. The human Phoenix Empire's Empress looked at the sky in shock and said, "Daughter, your standards are too high. Even now, I can't imagine how terrifying he is. I feel that even the human Phoenix Empire doesn't have the right to have him as your man." Beside her, Feng Qianghua also looked quite shocked. She had never thought that this man, who she could casually play around with, would become so terrifying. He had awakened the Demon Lord's star, the Outlander race's Emperor star, and now the God race's Emperor star. Facing this man, even someone as prideful as her felt inferior. The next time they met, the situation might be completely different. When that time came, it was unknown if she would be able to resist that man. Countless elders of the Sword sect revealed shocked expressions as well, and they exclaimed directly, "He's simply an extraordinary genius, and no one in the heavenly Enlightenment era can compare to him." One of the elders felt that it was a pity, back then, that person barged into Yu Yu's cultivation area. It was fate, and we should have captured that person and made him marry Yu Yu. Our sword sect would have been famous throughout the heaven-awakened world, but it's a pity that Yu Yu had some enmity with him. The other elders couldn't help but nod. This person was truly too frightening. Jianyue, who was beside him, was equally shocked. She had never thought that Zhao Fu's background would be so terrifying. What shocked her even more was the speed at which he had grown. In the past, she could easily defeat him in a few moves, but now he had become someone she had to look up to. The people from the Heaven's Secrets Pavilion looked at the sky in shock and fell silent. Everything was as they had expected. That person had awakened the God race's Emperor star. In the Devil domain, the Dragon Ancestor level figures all looked quite serious. Even though it was the God race's Supreme Emperor star that had awakened, the Dragon race felt immense pressure from their bloodlines. Now that person had 7 Supreme Emperor stars, and his Dragon race bloodline had gone through qualitative changes. It was even more terrifying than their Dragon Ancestor level bloodlines, and it was almost a Supreme Dragon race bloodline. The expressions of the Dragon Imperial Palace's 8 dragon emperors were quite grim. This was the legatee that their 9th brother had found, and now they all felt quite afraid. After hearing that the Dragon Imperial Palace's 9 emperors had found a legatee, they had felt quite shocked. However, that person's performance time and time again was something that none of them had expected. Now, with 7 Supreme Emperor stars supporting him, who would dare to contend against him in the heavens and earth, or in the 4 seas and 8 wilderness? It seemed that they had to deal with this matter carefully. The Dragon Emperors felt quite fortunate that they had not done anything to offend him before, or else they would have been in trouble. The Phoenix race, another major race in the Devil race, felt an intense sense of danger, as if a great disaster was about to befall them. Within the Devil race, the Dragon race and Phoenix race were enemies, and there were countless grievances between them. As such, the Phoenix race was able to sense things happening to the Dragon race. Now all of them felt an extreme sense of danger. This danger came from the Dragon race. Some incredible existence had appeared in the Dragon race for them to feel this way. They did not even need to think to know that it was that person who had awakened the Violet Sky Dragon Star. That person had obtained the Dragon Imperial Palace's legacy, and it was not just the Dragon Imperial Palace that was searching for that person. They were also searching for that person. Even though they had not found that person, they had obtained information about that person. It was not because they were powerful but because that person had shaken the heaven-awakened world and had awakened the God race's Supreme Emperor Star. They felt a sense of terror. If that person returned to the Dragon race and took control of the Dragon Imperial Palace, their race would be destroyed, which was why they felt such an intense sense of danger. The other races in the Devil race, such as the Chelan, the Nine-tailed Fox race, the Vermilion Bird race, the White Marsh Beast race, the Black Tortoise race, the 9 Infants race, and others also sensed the might from the Dragon race. This was the might of a Devil Lord. Their expressions were filled with fear and terror, as well as seriousness and worry. Now that such a terrifying existence had appeared in the Dragon race, none of them could relax. Even though they were also from the Devil race and that person had obtained the Devil race's Supreme Emperor Star, he was someone from the Dragon race and not someone from their race. With such a person in the Dragon race in the future, they all had to be careful. The Dragon race's position would not be shaken. However, the Dragon race had always been the leader of the Devil race, and they were incredibly powerful. Moreover, the Devil race's Supreme Emperor Stars were all related to dragons, so it was relatively easier for the Dragon race to awaken the Supreme Emperor Star, while it was more difficult for other races to awaken the Devil race's Emperor Star. Of course, the Devil race's Supreme Emperor Star also had an attribute, and if a race could suppress the Dragon race, the Devil race's Supreme Emperor Star would change. For example, if the Phoenix race suppressed the Dragon race, the Devil race's Emperor Star would become the Violet Sky Phoenix Star, and within the star would be a phoenix. For example, if the Nine-tailed Fox race suppressed the Devil race's Emperor Star, the Devil race's Emperor Star would become the Violet Sky Fox Star, and within the star would be a fox. Most importantly, no race had been able to suppress the Dragon race. As such, the Devil race's Emperor Stars were all related to the Dragon race. For example, the Phoenix race was a Phoenix Dragon, the Black Tortoise was a Black Dragon, the Vermilion Bird was a Sparrow Dragon, the Nine-tailed Fox race was a Fox Dragon, the Tree Devil was a Tree Dragon, and the White Tiger was a Tiger Dragon. This was quite shocking. A person had awakened the God race's Emperor Star and not the Devil race's Emperor Star, but this caused the Devil race to feel quite panicked. Chapter 2249. Within the Demon Domain, the 10 Demon Empire's people's expressions were quite unsightly. They knew who the person who had awakened the God race's Emperor Star was. It was the evil spirit Abyss Flower Ancestor's legatee, the person who had awakened the Demon Lord Star, and the second King of Kings. If it was an ordinary person, as one of the most powerful factions in the Demon Domain, the 10-demon empire would not hesitate to kill them. However, facing this person, the 10-demon empire felt immense pressure. The key thing was that there was great enmity between the 10-demon empire and that person, and they had been chasing after him this entire time. Now that that person had 7 emperor stars, he would reach the 10-demon empire sooner or later, and when that time came, the 10-demon empire would be heavily wounded. Even though that person was not very powerful, no one doubted his abilities. That person was just that terrifying. The demon emperor sex people smiled and even felt quite excited. After all, the demon emperor sex princess was the woman of the person with 7 emperor stars, and the demon emperor sex relationship with him was quite good. They could not help but feel shocked that this person had become such a terrifying existence. Luckily, back when the princess had wanted to follow this person, they had not objected, or else they would have regretted it to death. After all, no one in the heaven-awakened world dared to offend such a person. His future accomplishments would be unimaginable, and he would be of great benefit to the demon god emperor. Within the demon's celestial tower, a beautiful middle-aged woman and everyone else smiled. The beautiful middle-aged woman was Yuan Ziyuan's mother, and Yuan Ziyuan was a famous peerless beauty in the demon domain. She was one of the people that Zhao Fu had brought back from the demon domain. Their thoughts were the same as the demon emperor sex people, and they were quite happy that Zhao Fu had become such a terrifying existence. The Outlander domain was the most shocked because it was different from other domains. Other domains people might not know about this person, but almost everyone in the Outlander domain knew about him. This was because he was their second king of kings, the ruler of the entire Outlander race, and he had the right to command everyone in the Outlander race. Back then, when that person had become the second king of kings, he had shaken the entire Outlander race, and almost everyone knew about him. This was mainly because of the glory of the first king of kings, and even a child knew about him. As such, everyone paid great attention to his legatee. Before, everyone had been incredibly excited about the second king of kings, and they felt that under the second king of kings' leadership, they would once again walk towards glory. However, after learning of his identity, they realized that he wasn't a pure Outlander, but someone with many different bloodlines. This caused them to not have a very high opinion of him. At that time, when the experts of the other races surrounded him, they were somewhat powerless to protect him. Now that he had awakened another Emperor Star, and it was a God Race Emperor Star, the Outlander people felt quite complicated and did not know what to do. However, they did not doubt why the first King of Kings had chosen him as his legatee. After all, that person was incredibly terrifying, and countless people looked up to him. The 10 geniuses of the Outlander race, who had been defeated by Zhao Fu in the past, felt even better. Before, they had been able to put up a fight against Zhao Fu. But now, they feared him and didn't have any ability to resist. Outlander 10 College's teachers were also incredibly shocked. The second King of Kings had not disappointed them at all. Back then, Outlander 10 College had risked everything to protect this King of Kings, and the old dean, who had been in closed-door cultivation, had personally suppressed countless higher-being existences, allowing that person to escape. Now, it seemed that this had been the right decision. Even though that person wasn't a pure Outlander, it was possible that he could fulfill the King of Kings prophecy and lead the Outlander race to glory. That way, everything they had done would have been worth it. The Spirit Domain's 6 Desires celestial sect had been giving off a terrifying aura and wanted to destroy everything, but now, it seemed that it was afraid. It no longer gave off that ferocious and berserk aura, and it was like a frightened tiger. What's going on? How could the 6 Desires celestial sect's statues be afraid? With their power, they wouldn't even be afraid of higher beings, so what are they afraid of? They don't even dare to release their auras. This is the first time they've seen this. That's right, they gave off such terrifying ripples just then, but now they don't even dare to release their auras at all. Who could do this? Could it be that celestial bastard? Just then, it was that celestial bastard that made the stone statues go berserk. Now, it should be him that makes the stone statues fear him. Now that you say it like that, things are quite serious. If that celestial bastard has the ability to make the 6 desires stone statues fear him, he has the ability to destroy the 6 desires celestial sect. This is a big matter, and we need to quickly discuss how to deal with it. That's right, that celestial bastard is definitely the most terrifying person in history. We can't be careless, or else the consequences will be severe. Roar, roar, roar. Within the depths of the underworld, the 6 desires demon statues once again gave off massive roars. Terrifying auras continuously spread out, causing the heavens and earth to fall into chaos. Countless people felt a chill, and could not help but tremble. This was different to the 6 desires demon statues' furious roars from before. Now, the 6 desires demon statues' roars were not roars of fury but fearful of a certain existence. A person cried out in shock, "Heavens! Just what kind of existence is it for the 6 paths demon statues to fear it? Isn't this too terrifying?" Another person said in shock, "It's the first time I've seen the 6 paths demon statues act like this. I'm curious just what kind of existence they fear. With their power, they can even kill celestials." The person next to him said seriously, "This matter is quite serious, and we need to investigate it carefully. I feel that it has something to do with what happened before. As the underworld's world-suppressing armament, the 6 paths of reincarnation is the foundation of the underworld. We can't allow anything to happen to it." Another person nodded seriously. "What should we do then? The 6 desires demon statues are not in a normal state right now. If we rashly advance, we might be killed by them." An elder said, "Let's wait here for a few days and let the 6 paths demon statues calm down before going to investigate. Facing the 6 paths demon statues, we won't be able to retaliate at all." Hearing this, everyone nodded and waited within the depths of the underworld. Boom! Back at the godly world, the sovereign god star in the sky sent down an enormous pillar of white light that fell on Zhao Fu's body. Countless traces of the god race's Emperor Star's power flowed into Zhao Fu's body, speeding up Zhao Fu's transformation. This power was incredibly beneficial to Zhao Fu's bloodline. Now Zhao Fu had the 10,000 god bloodline. Even though this bloodline had been born after the sovereign god star had descended, it was fusing with other bloodlines. If it succeeded, there would be shocking changes. P.S. There's a group number in the description, and I hope everyone can join. Chapter 2250. The pillar of light that had landed on Zhao Fu's body disappeared, and the Emperor Star in the sky gradually disappeared. Now, the 10,000 god bloodline had fused into Zhao Fu's body, causing his body to go through changes. Whether it was Zhao Fu's talent, constitution, or bloodline, they had all gone through qualitative changes. It could be said that Zhao Fu's talent was now at the peak of the heaven-awakened world, and his constitution had become even more monstrous. Whether it was his defense, endurance, or recovery speed, they were all monstrous. Most importantly, Zhao Fu's bloodline was now at the peak of the divine bloodline, and he was just a trace away from breaking through to the origin bloodline. Zhao Fu sat on the god's throne and gave off an indescribable aura, as if he was the ruler of the god world. He was high and mighty, and no one could blaspheme him. Seeing this, everyone let out a sigh of relief. This matter was finally over. The King of Kings had caused too many things this time, causing them to feel incredibly shocked time and time again, and their hearts were in their throat. Now that he had awakened the god race's Emperor Star, the god competition had concluded. He was the ruler of this god race, and no one had any objections. Whether it was the ordinary commoners or peerless geniuses, they were all convinced. After all, they had personally seen just how terrifying he was, and it was unimaginably terrifying. No one would object to him being the number one expert in the Heaven Awaken world. Everyone was quite satisfied with the God competition this time. It was dozens of times more exciting and intense than before, allowing them to witness a battle between true geniuses. Now they all looked incredibly excited. Hao Dao looked at Zhao Fu sitting on the throne and looked quite shocked. 6 Emperor stars had been enough to shock him, and now another one had awakened in front of him, bringing the total to 7. Hao Dao had never heard of a person having 7 Supreme Emperor stars before. Even the celestial world did not have such a terrifying person, and yet he had encountered one in the Heaven Awaken world. This was a massive blow to him. If he had not personally seen it, he definitely would not have believed it. Hao Dao didn't have any complaints about being defeated in the hands of such a person. Such a person would sooner or later shake the entire immortal world. However, there was also a bit of a pity this time, and that was the matter of the first-generation Divine Master. His purpose was to obtain the inheritance of the first-generation Divine Master, and he had even listened to his master's words. Now that he had not obtained the first God Lord's legacy, his master would never have thought that he would lose to someone else in the Heaven Awaken world. If this matter was told to him, he would probably also be very shocked. Also, he did not obtain the first-generation Divine Master's inheritance, and neither did Zhao Fu. He had just obtained a portion of the Divine Master's inheritance power, and it was not the true inheritance power. In other words, he still had a chance to obtain the inheritance of the first Divine Master, but he would have to wait for 9 years before the next competition of the gods. Standing by the side, Tian Yu also felt quite shocked. 7 Supreme Emperor stars were not as common as cabbages but the rarest Supreme Emperor stars. It was not just the Emperor stars but also that person's terrifying power. Tian Yu admitted that he could not compare to such a person, even though he was the number one expert in the godly world. He had to look up to this sort of existence. Xin Qianhua and the other women were also quite shocked. Seeing Zhao Fu awaken the god race's Emperor stars, they felt that this was their man, an untouchable existence. Now they all felt intense admiration towards Zhao Fu. To be able to become a woman of such an existence was a great opportunity. Mia Lu was also completely convinced by Zhao Fu. There had never been anyone who could make her feel so convinced, including her body. Boom! An explosion sounded out as if the entire godly world had exploded. The entire godly world violently trembled as the weather changed and clouds swirled as divine power became chaotic. Countless people felt quite startled and looked towards the sky where the explosion had come from. An unimaginably powerful divine might descended from the godly world, and the entire godly world seemed to bear this immense divine might. Birds did not dare to fly, beasts did not dare to run, and insects did not dare to cry out. Everyone in the godly world felt as if their bodies had fallen into a bottomless abyss. Darkness corroded their souls, causing their bodies to become icy cold. Their minds went blank and they all froze, feeling an unprecedented fear. In that moment, the godly world fell silent, and there was no sound at all. The pressure was so heavy that it could suffocate people. This was not the end. That boundless, noble, ancient, and supreme divine might not only weigh down on the entire godly world, but it also spread into the Heaven Awaken world. At that moment, the Heaven Awaken world's winds and clouds went through, and countless experts' expressions fell. They felt the immense divine might coming from the godly world, and it felt as if the heavens were pressing down. What kind of divine might was this? Even the Heaven Awaken world could sense it. They were in 2 different worlds, and it was so vast that it was simply unimaginable. Many old monsters woke up from their closed-door cultivation and looked at the sky in shock. Within the underworld, many experts' expressions changed because they sensed the divine might coming from the Heaven Awaken world. After sensing it, they felt even more shocked because this divine might did not come from the Heaven Awaken world but from the godly world. What kind of divine might was this? It was simply too terrifying. It could actually spread through the three worlds. Suddenly, countless rays of white light shot out from the godly world's sky, causing the entire godly world to become white. It was incredibly blinding, making it difficult for people to open their eyes. Within the heaven-awakened world, countless rays of white light shot out from the sky, but they were not as intense as the godly worlds. However, they still caused the sky to become white. Within the gloomy underworld, rays of white light shot down from the sky, dispelling the darkness. However, the Yin-Chi fell into chaos, and countless ghosts howled in terror as if they were extremely afraid of these rays of light. The scene of countless howls caused the underworld to become even more terrifying, and it was as if it was a sure hell. At that moment, countless people from the outer world and alchemy world saw the white light coming from the heaven-awakened world. The countless ferocious, bloodthirsty, hateful insects that wanted to kill all godly spirits in the heaven-awakened world were now terrified, and they no longer looked as ferocious as before. Now, there were many different insects crawling on the ground, not daring to move at all. Their eyes were filled with terror, an indescribable terror. On the other side, the alchemy world was given a fright and quickly retreated. Under the countless rays of white light, the alchemy world's elemental essences started to collapse. Chapter 22:51. Just what kind of light was this? It had such terrifying power, causing countless people in the alchemy world to feel incredibly terrified. Alchemy elemental essences were the foundation of an alchemy world and the most important thing. They were the source of the alchemy world, and the entire alchemy world was made up of different alchemy elemental essences. However, these countless rays of white light could cause alchemy elemental essences to collapse, giving them the power to destroy the alchemy world. The experts from the outer world and alchemy world looked at the countless rays of white light seriously, wondering just what had happened in the heaven-awakened world and just what these rays of white light were. Finally, they looked back at the godly world. Within the white sky, a massive platinum-like object gave off a boundless divine might as it slowly descended from the sky. It was as if the entire godly world could not withstand this power. That object continuously descended, and more of it was revealed. Finally, a gigantic white metallic mirror appeared in the sky. It was impossible to tell how big this mirror was, and it almost covered the entire sky. It was circular and was made of white metal. There were many cloud inscriptions on the sides of the mirror, and the front of the mirror was very clear and could reflect all sorts of things. On the back of the mirror were profound and complicated divine runes, and they gave off a boundless, noble, ancient, and supreme aura. Under this terrifying aura, not only did countless creatures feel incredibly terrified, but it was as if they were facing the ruler of everything. The entire godly world seemed to be filled with terror. This was the godly world's world-suppressing armament, the Hautian mirror. Countless people looked at the Hautian mirror in shock. Ever since the Hautian mirror had disappeared into the boundless void, this was the first time it had appeared. Only it could give off such a terrifying aura. It was also the first time many people had seen the legendary Hautian mirror. It was terrifying to the extreme, and it gave off a feeling of insignificance and despair. At the same time, they were incredibly shocked. Why had the Hautian mirror suddenly descended? By now, the mirrors outside the secret realms had disappeared, and no one could see what was happening within the secret realms. Within the secret realms, everyone was even more shocked, and even Hao Dao's body uncontrollably trembled. A massive Hautian mirror appeared behind the throne, giving off boundless white light that dyed the sky white. It also gave off a power that was even more terrifying than the heavens and the earth. At this moment, Zhao Fu was seated on his throne. His eyes were closed, and his body did not move at all. His movements didn't change at all. Boom! A deafening roar rang out, and the Hautian mirror shone with a seemingly tangible white light, which shone upon Zhao Fu's body. An endless amount of divine power surged into Zhao Fu's body like a tidal wave. At that moment, Zhao Fu's cloak turned into countless fragments and his body underwent a huge change. Everyone looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Zhao Fu's body first shone with all sorts of rainbow-colored light, and a powerful wave of 10,000 deities' power spread out from his body, enveloping the surrounding 10,000 meters. It was extremely terrifying, and even the space seemed to distort. Right now, Zhao Fu's 10,000 deities' power had reached the perfect level of sovereign power, and he had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth, and rule over 10,000 deities' power. But then, something unexpected happened. The terrifying 10,000 deities' power grew weaker and weaker, and the rainbow-colored light that Zhao Fu's body gave off also began to lose color. However, the weakening of the 10,000 deities' power and the decreasing colors did not mean that Zhao Fu's true power had weakened. Instead, a brand new power was growing and spreading within Zhao Fu's body. Boom, 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 deafening roars rang out, and waves of terrifying might descended from the sky. The sky was unable to withstand this enormous power, and it continuously collapsed into nothingness. 7 massive stars gave off intense starlight and gave off terrifying auras as they slowly descended from the sky. One was a blood-red star that gave off an aura of disaster, one gave off a noble aura, one was a gray star that gave off an eerie aura, one was a violet star that gave off devil chi, one was a black star that gave off demonic chi, one was an azure star that gave off an outlander aura, and one was a white star that gave off a holy aura. The 7 emperor stars hung in the sky above Zhao Fu, giving off terrifying power that covered the entire world. Nothing could resist them, and the 7 different colors of light split the sky into 7 different colors. The Haotian mirror behind the throne was not affected at all, and it continuously sent source god power into Zhao Fu's body. The 10,000 deities' power that Zhao Fu gave off finally disappeared, and it did not give off any light. At that moment, a blood-red mark appeared on Zhao Fu's forehead. It looked like a mark formed from countless runes, and it gave off a source aura. This mark was the origin mark that Tuoba Qing had given to Zhao Fu back then. With this mark, one's bloodline could continuously become stronger until it became an origin bloodline. The reason why Zhao Fu was so powerful and had an emperor's star was largely because of this origin mark. To Zhao Fu, this was incredibly important, and it was just a bit less important than Zhao Fu's life. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely view this origin mark as something even more important than their life. This was something that countless people dreamed of, and even higher beings were no exception. With it, they would be able to ascend to the heavens in a single step and become the most powerful person in the world. At that moment, the blood-red mark started to melt, and the runes spread out from between Zhao Fu's eyebrows before covering Zhao Fu's entire body. A dust-like substance rose up from Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's body seemed to silently disintegrate as it gradually disappeared. Within a building in the half-celestial world, a woman with blood-red hair and eyes who was even more beautiful than a celestial maiden sensed something and looked quite shocked as she muttered to herself, "I never thought that my husband would grow to such a level in just 10 years. I underestimated him back then." Hearing this, a handsome young man next to her looked quite startled and looked at the woman as he asked, "Clan's daughter, what husband did you just say? How come I've never heard you mention him before?" The woman came back to her senses and calmly replied, "It's none of your business." The young man looked at the woman and wanted to know who that person was to be this woman's husband. This woman was no ordinary person, she had a pure origin human race bloodline. Not only did she have a noble identity, but her origin race's power was also incredibly terrifying. It was a power that could cause people to feel despair and fear, and ordinary experts did not want to offend her. Chapter 2252. Coupled with her peerless beauty that was even more beautiful than a fairy, there was almost no man in the world who did not want to obtain her. Even real immortals were no exception. She had this kind of charm. Now, this woman was the #1 beauty in the half-immortal world. Almost everyone in the half-immortal world knew of her. She naturally had countless admirers, and the young man was one of them. However, because this woman's identity was very special and her bloodline was very noble, the young man didn't have the guts to express his feelings. Hearing her words, the young man didn't expect that this woman actually had a husband. He had never heard of this before and couldn't think of any man that was worthy of her. He felt a dull pain in his heart. Even though the young man really wanted to know who that man was, he didn't continue to ask and said, "I heard that the God world's Hautian mirror has appeared. Experts from all over the half-immortal world have already gone to the God world to take a look. Should we go and take a look?" The woman didn't want to answer and said, "Go by yourself. I'm not interested." The young man was astonished. He didn't expect the woman to answer like that because the Hautian mirror had appeared. It shocked the entire half-immortal world, and she actually said that she wasn't interested. Could it be that she really didn't want to know what happened and why the Hautian mirror had appeared? One must know that the Hautian mirror was the God world's world-suppressing artifact. It had unimaginably terrifying power and could easily slaughter countless immortals. Ever since the war in the immemorial God world, it had hidden itself in the endless void. After such a long time, it suddenly appeared and shook the entire half-immortal world. There wasn't a single power that didn't care about this. The woman relied on the origin imprint and naturally understood the reason. She was also very shocked. She didn't think that her husband could cause the Hautian mirror to appear and shake the entire half-immortal world. She also wanted to go and take a look, but she had many concerns. Firstly, her identity wasn't completely exposed. If it was exposed, she was worried that Zhao Fu would be implicated. Seeing that the woman didn't want to go, the young man didn't continue to speak. He just stood there quietly and continued to guess who that man was. Back in the secret realm, Zhao Fu's body disappeared from the throne. However, everyone could sense that Zhao Fu was still sitting there. It was just that they couldn't see him with their naked eyes. It was as if he had become a higher-level existence. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red star in the sky gave off an intense blood-red light, and a massive power of disaster spread out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the golden star in the sky gave off an intense golden light and a massive wave of human race power spread out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the gray star in the sky gave off an intense gray light, and a massive wave of ghostly energy spread out. Then, 4 explosions sounded. The black star gave off demonic light and demonic energy. The violet star gave off violet light and devil race power, the azure star gave off boundless azure light and outlander race power, and the white star gave off god race power. The 7 stars gave off their own power, and 7 illusory scenes appeared around the throne. Each scene was different, and each one was tens of thousands of meters wide. One scene was that the sky was blood-red and the ground was cracked. Volcanoes continuously erupted and lightning continuously descended. People madly fought and howled, and corpses were strewn all over the ground. One scene was that the sky was golden, and it was a scene of countless people living. There were people farming, people reading, people walking, and people talking. There were also people admiring flowers. One scene was that the sky was gray and the world was eerie. There was ghostly chi everywhere, and there were countless ghosts and monsters of all shapes and sizes that gave off howls. One scene was that the sky was violet, and there were countless powerful devil beasts giving off terrifying devil chi as they howled. There were dragons, phoenixes, foxes, dogs, snakes, pigs, cows, scorpions, toads, and others. One scene was that the sky was black, and there were countless places giving off demonic chi. There were all sorts of demons that gave off cruel and evil smiles. One scene was that the sky was azure, and there were all sorts of outlanders living there. There were minotaurs, kobolds, cats, nagas, tiger-headed, lion people, and dragon people. One scene was that the sky was white, and there were countless godly spirits floating in the sky, giving off divine might and looking quite terrifying. After the 7 scenes appeared, they surged toward the divine throne like a tidal wave, bringing with them an endless amount of heaven and earth power as well. The 7 illusory scenes fused together, and a person's image gradually appeared. At first, this person's image was quite hazy, but as heaven and earth power continuously flowed in, that person's body gradually became corporeal. It was Zhao Fu. Sitting on the throne, Zhao Fu gave off the aura of a ruler of the world. He slowly opened his eyes, and an even more terrifying might spread out like a wave of light, causing the space around him to shatter like a mirror. Zhao Fu's left eye now had 11 pupils, and each of them gave off a terrifying aura. His right eye was still a cross-shaped pupil with 6 gray dots around it, and there were life god runes at the corners of his eyes. Zhao Fu's appearance had greatly changed. His jet-black hair had become colorless and transparent, and his appearance had become even more handsome and flawless. He now had 2 fangs in his mouth. There was a mirror on his forehead that was slightly bigger than a silver coin, and it looked almost identical to the Haotian mirror. It was just that it was many times smaller than the massive Haotian mirror. Zhao Fu's body was now completely naked. He was quite tall and slim, and his muscles were well proportioned. His skin was as white as jade, and it felt incredibly smooth. It did not seem like human skin at all. There was also a fist-sized mark on Zhao Fu's chest. This mark was circular and had 7 colors, and it looked like 7 stars had been imprinted on it. Moreover, Zhao Fu's body gave off a fragrance that surpassed that of a holy tier spirit herb. Just smelling it would make one feel as if they could live for 100 years. Finally, there were 7 egg-shaped stars around Zhao Fu's body. Each star gave off a different resplendent light and different powers. Some gave off disaster power, some gave off demonic power, some gave off devil race power, and some gave off godly spirit power. These 7 stars corresponded to the 7 supreme emperor stars, and each star represented the power of each supreme emperor star. The aura that Zhao Fu gave off was so powerful that it could not be described with words. It was as if it surpassed the world, and was not bound by any power. It would not age or die, and it was ethereal, illusory, and untouchable. Chapter 2253. The current Zhao Fu caused countless people present to look incredibly shocked. He completely surpassed what they could accept. How had he become such a terrifying existence? By now, everyone felt that Zhao Fu had surpassed celestials and was in existence even more terrifying than celestials. Celestials were already at the peak of this world, so what was in existence even more terrifying than celestials? Even Hao Tian looked incredibly shocked, and massive waves crashed in his heart. He had personally witnessed the birth of an extremely terrifying person. He could now clearly sense that Zhao Fu's bloodline was no longer a divine bloodline but an origin bloodline. More importantly, his bloodline was an origin initial generation bloodline, the purest kind of bloodline. Even though Hao Dao also had an origin bloodline and was quite pure, his bloodline had been passed down for many generations, and the purity of his bloodline could not compare to Zhao Fu's. As such, he could sense the might from Zhao Fu's bloodline. This was something that was incredibly difficult to accomplish, as his origin bloodline was already incredibly powerful. It was one of the top-tier bloodlines in the world, and even many celestial bloodlines could not reach origin bloodlines. However, someone had done it. This was the first time he had seen someone with an origin bloodline. Moreover, his origin bloodline was not an ordinary origin bloodline. It felt much more terrifying than ordinary origin bloodlines. Not only did it contain the bloodlines of the 7 great races, but it also contained the bloodlines of the 7 supreme emperor stars. It was understandable that he had the bloodlines of the 7 great races, as some people could use many bloodlines. However, there were differences in strength between bloodlines. Those people's bloodlines were naturally not as high-grade as Zhao Fu's. Zhao Fu's 7 Great Races bloodline was definitely one of the top-tier bloodlines, and it was incredibly powerful. As for the 7 Emperor Star bloodlines, Zhao Fu could not understand and felt that it was almost impossible. Fate stars meant that a person relied on powerful fate to cause a star to descend. That person could also use massive amounts of star power. This was related to fate. However, fate and bloodlines were two completely different things. Since that person had the Emperor Star bloodline, this meant that his descendants would naturally have Emperor Star power and would awaken a Supreme Emperor Star. This kind of bloodline ability caused the bloodline to become a bloodline that could shock even the celestial world, and it could be called a top-tier bloodline in the celestial world. This was because they directly had Emperor Star power, and it was very likely that they were born with a Supreme Emperor Star. Supreme Emperor Stars were incredibly rare and terrifying, and they were items for peerless experts. With the protection of a Supreme Emperor Star, they could avoid many dangers. As for how this bloodline had been formed, Hao Dao felt that when his body had been reconstructed, there had been 7 illusory scenes. These 7 illusory scenes were the source power of the 7 Emperor Stars, which was why he had the Emperor Star bloodline. This matter was really too important. Hao Dao felt that he didn't have the ability to deal with it. He only wanted to wait until he returned to the immortal world to report this matter to the Patriarch and Master and let them deal with it. This was the first time they had seen such a terrifying existence. If even Hao Dao, who was the most powerful and had the most terrifying identity, was like this, Tian Yu and Mie Lu were even more shocked. Their minds were quite blank, and their hearts were still beating quickly. It was the first time they had seen such a terrifying existence. In front of him, the two of them did not even have the courage to resist. Even if they had Supreme Emperor Stars, it would be useless. Tian Yu did not know what to say. Facing a terrifying figure like Zhao Fu, who far surpassed his imagination, he did not feel any dissatisfaction at all. Whether it was status, bloodline, or power, Zhao Fu completely suppressed him. Mie Lu could not help but feel even more admiration towards Zhao Fu, and she felt quite happy. She felt that Zhao Fu had done the right thing in taking advantage of her back then. To countless women, they would not have any complaints about having a man like this. All women felt that they were not worthy of such a man. The other women felt the same way, especially those who did not have very high statuses. They all felt quite fortunate to have been able to meet Zhao Fu. At that moment, the abnormal signs in the surroundings started to dissipate, and the massive Haotian mirror in the sky once again disappeared into the boundless void. The terrifying aura also disappeared, and the world once again became peaceful. Everyone regained their senses at this moment, and the scene was like a boiling pot. Too terrifying, simply too terrifying. Even the godly world's world-suppressing armament has appeared. I've never felt such a terrifying aura before. Even a higher being would have to submit to this aura. That's right, I never thought that the Haotian mirror would appear. It hasn't appeared since the immemorial war, and the entire heaven-awakened world has probably been shaken. Just what do you think caused the Haotian mirror to descend? I'm quite curious, but aren't you all curious? That's right. Just what kind of terrifying reason could cause the Haotian mirror to descend? It's simply too terrifying. I'm so scared that I'm covered in cold sweat. Needless to say, it's definitely the second King of Kings. After all, he had just awakened the God race's Supreme Emperor Star, and then the Haotian mirror descended. There can't be such a coincidence. It definitely has something to do with him. That's right. It definitely has something to do with the second King of Kings. Almost all of the terrifying things happening now are related to him, so there's no need to think about it. If that's really the case, then the second King of Kings is even more terrifying. I wonder what's happening in the secret realm. I really want to know. I also want to know. It's possible that the Haotian mirror has given him some power, causing him to go through shocking changes. It's a pity that the secret realm's mirror has disappeared, so we can't know what's happening inside. Sitting on his throne, Zhao Fu could not help but give a trace of a smile. He had never thought that the Haotian mirror would suddenly descend and allow him to break through the restrictions of his divine bloodline and break through to the origin bloodline. It had also reshaped his body and given him even more terrifying power. Now, Zhao Fu and Tuobachin were both members of the origin race. However, her origin race was an extremely ancient race, while Zhao Fu's was only an early stage. Suddenly, a system announcement sounded out: the god competition has concluded. Rewards have been distributed. In front of everyone in the secret realm, different items appeared. Of course, the grade of the items depended on points, and the higher one's points were, the more precious the items would be. 3 items appeared in front of Zhao Fu: an orb of rainbow flames giving off godly spirit aura, a golden crystal pearl, and a silver-white talisman paper. Chapter 2254. That colorful orb of fire was the god flame, which was one of Zhao Fu's goals. It could be used to forge a great desolate cauldron and give the spirit maiden the ability to devour other worlds' consciousnesses. When that time came, Qin would become an existence like the Heaven Awaken world. Zhao Fu was quite interested, but there were too many unknowns. If he encountered a world similar to the Heaven Awaken world, Qin's world would be completely destroyed. The Heaven Awaken world was a great backer, and unless something unexpected happened, Zhao Fu would not leave the Heaven Awaken world. The second item was a golden crystal pearl. It was not very big, only as big as a longan fruit, and it was incredibly transparent and pure. It gave off the might of a god emperor. This crystal pearl was called a god emperor pearl. Anyone who fused it into their body would obtain a powerful god emperor's constitution and god emperor's power. It was an incredibly precious treasure. Emperor-level existences were already top-tier existences in the world, and countless people had to look up to them. They were incredibly powerful, and this crystal pearl could directly give a god emperor's constitution and power, which was why it was so precious. However, Zhao Fu was not interested at all because Zhao Fu only had a source bloodline. However, he could give this item to his subordinate. As for who to give it to, Zhao Fu thought of Aracina. She had helped Zhao Fu a lot, so he could give this to her. As for Shen Qianhua, Yu Chan, and Mia Lu, they all had emperor-level bloodlines, so they did not need this item. The final silver talisman was as long as a palm and 3 fingers wide, and it was densely covered with divine runes and formations. It looked incredibly profound and complicated, and the talisman itself gave off a powerful aura. This talisman was called the 9-God Demon Forbidden Talisman, and it was incredibly powerful and could seal higher being existences for a period of time. After looking at the introduction, Zhao Fu felt quite tempted. Higher beings were terrifying existences, and Zhao Fu was unable to defend against them. In fact, he would be crushed by them, and if he met them, he could only run. Sometimes, he would not even be able to escape. Now that he had this talisman, even if he faced higher being existences, he would have a trace of resistance and would not have to fear them. For this talisman to be able to seal higher being existences for a period of time, it could be seen just how precious and terrifying it was. It was a pity that it could only be used once. After looking through the 3 items' information, Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied and put them away. At that moment, Zhao Fu realized that he wasn't wearing any clothes at all. Zhao Fu didn't have such a fetish, so he immediately took out some clothes and put them on. Zhao Fu's appearance returned to its original form. He felt that his previous form was quite inconvenient, and even though it was quite powerful, Zhao Fu did not like it. The clear sky mirror had indeed given Zhao Fu some origin god power, and this origin god power had fused with Zhao Fu's perfect 10,000 god power, forming an even more terrifying 10,000 god power. One was Zhao Fu's 10,000 god power, and the other was the Haotian mirror's 10,000 god power. One was Zhao Fu's 10,000 god power, and the other was the Haotian mirror's 10,000 god power, which was creation god power. Its true name was 10,000 god power, not creation god power. Before, Zhao Fu had thought that its power could make a person a godly spirit, allowing them to become a godly spirit. It had even created an era of godly spirits, so it was called creation god power. However, after Zhao Fu had obtained the Haotian mirror's power, he had obtained some information and understood that the Haotian mirror's true name was Haotian mirror, not 10,000 god mirror. Its power was 10,000 god power, not creation god power. A single type of sovereign power was already quite terrifying, and when two types of sovereign power fused together, it would naturally be even more terrifying. Furthermore, Zhao Fu's power of 10,000 deities originated from Haotian's divine power. Hence, the integration of the two could be said to be perfect. There was no rejection, nor any side effects. This was the strongest power that Zhao Fu possessed. Now that Zhao Fu could use the power of the Haotian mirror and the power of the Six Paths reincarnation, it would shock countless people. This was because of the godly world's world-suppressing weapons and the Yin world's world-suppressing weapons. For Zhao Fu to be able to use their powers, there was definitely no one else in the Heaven Awakened world who could do this. Zhao Fu was the first person in history. Moreover, Zhao Fu's cultivation was now at the Emperor Heaven Realm. Back then, the Emperor Heaven Realm was a lofty existence that even Zhao Fu could not touch. In fact, he had been bullied by an Emperor Heaven Realm expert and could only endure it. Now that Zhao Fu had become an Emperor Heaven Realm expert and had the terrifying power of an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, he would not have to fear any Heaven Realm expert in the future. In fact, he could even suppress them. Zhao Fu felt incredibly confident. After returning to Qin, Qin was going to go through massive changes. Not only had he broken through to the Emperor Heaven Realm and become the ruler of all gods, but he had also resolved the matter of the Philosopher's Stone and the desolate Great Cauldron. Qin's strength would quickly grow in a short period of time, and the Fire Nation, Devil Horn Empire, Second Aeolian Empire, the royal kingdoms in the inner regions, the alchemy world, and the outer world would no longer have to fear Qin and would instead trample them all beneath his feet. Thinking back to what had happened, Zhao Fu felt that it was a pity. Even now, he did not know what had happened regarding the first God Lord. That God Lord had given Zhao Fu a portion of his legacy power, but he had not given Zhao Fu all of it. Moreover, he did not know what the white hole at the center of the magic formation contained, and he did not know if the first God Lord's corpse would be there. If he could go there, he would be able to understand what had happened, and he would be able to obtain great gains. This was something left behind by the first God Lord, and no matter if it was his tomb or the legacy land, there would definitely be countless treasures. Moreover, no one had obtained these treasures before, so there would definitely be a shocking amount. Now that the God competition had concluded, it was impossible for Zhao Fu to enter. Moreover, even if Zhao Fu was given another chance, he would not be able to enter. This was because Zhao Fu had not done it, which meant that he had not received the first God Lord's acknowledgement. Zhao Fu felt that if it was Hao Dao, he would definitely be able to enter. After all, the God Lord's aura was quite similar to Hao Dao's, and there might be a great connection between them. However, Zhao Fu did not think too much about it because the God competition had concluded and everyone would be forcefully teleported back to the stage. Zhao Fu flew down from the throne and came before the women. Facing Zhao Fu, the women could not help but feel quite restrained. This was an instinctive reaction. Zhao Fu's aura was simply too terrifying and high level, and it transcended everything in this world. Chapter 2255. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he asked, "What is it?" The women came back to their senses and let go of their restraints as they surrounded Zhao Fu. Mialu lightly laughed as she said, "You're even more terrifying than before. I don't even know if I'll be able to catch up to you." Xin Qianhua also smiled as she said, "That's right. Husband, you can be said to be the number one person in the heaven-awakened world. No one can compare to you. Moreover, your potential is something that even celestials fear." Jiu Yun flirtatiously smiled as she said, "We're so honored to be Master's women. This is our greatest opportunity. If Master can recover in that area, that would be for the best. We'll be able to properly serve Master." Zhao Fu rolled his eyes at her and said, "The god competition has concluded, and I've finished my matters in the godly world. Now I'll take you all back to my faction." The women all smiled and nodded in understanding. They had waited for this day for a long time and had long since expected it. As Zhao Fu's women, they definitely had to follow him back. Mia Lu asked with some concern, "Are we going back to the half-celestial world or somewhere else?" By now, Mia Lu only knew that Zhao Fu was the second king of kings and did not know anything else. This was what countless people were curious about. Just who was Zhao Fu and where did he come from? Zhao Fu apologetically smiled. With Qin's current status, it was quite unpresentable for Mia Lu. After all, she came from the number one faction in the godly domain, and her foundation was terrifying. Qin definitely could not compare to her. "No, you'll know after you go back. I might disappoint you." Mia Lu felt quite surprised. Zhao Fu was such a terrifying existence, yet he was not from the half-celestial world. Could it be that he was from the celestial world? However, from Zhao Fu's tone, he did not seem to be from the celestial world. Where was that? Seeing that Zhao Fu was unwilling to say anything, Mia Lu said carelessly, "There's no such thing as disappointment. Anyway, I'm yours. Wherever you go, I'll naturally go." Zhao Fu smiled and pulled her into his arms. He smiled and said seriously to the tree-hole, "I will definitely treat you well in the future." Mia Glaze's face became slightly red, and he felt a wave of warmth in his heart as he happily hugged Zhao Fu. On the side, Luli couldn't help but smile. Originally, her family's young miss hated Zhao Fu very much, but now, it seemed like she had completely fallen in love with Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's charm was truly quite great, and there were almost no women who could escape his grasp. At that moment, Hao Dao gave a trace of a smile and brought Lan Lu to the side as he said, "Congratulations on awakening an Emperor Star, advancing your bloodline to an origin bloodline, and possessing such terrifying power." Everyone felt quite startled and came back to their senses. It turned out that Zhao Fu's aura was so terrifying that he had broken through to a divine bloodline and become an origin bloodline. That was a bloodline that reigned above divine bloodlines. They had heard of origin bloodlines in ancient legends but had never seen one before. They did not even need to think to understand how terrifying they were. Among the women, Mia Lu's bloodline was only at the peak of the imperial bloodline and had not broken through to a divine bloodline. There was a great disparity between her and Zhao Fu's bloodline. Zhao Fu turned to look at Hao Dao and smiled as he said, "Thank you." Hao Dao smiled as he continued to ask, "I'm quite curious as to just who Sir is. I wonder if Sir can reveal some information." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "That's impossible. Also, I don't think you've ever told me your identity." Hao Dao looked quite startled before lightly laughing as he said, "I'm willing to use my identity to exchange for yours." Zhao Fu would definitely directly refuse. Hao Dao was a terrifying faction from the celestial world, and Zhao Fu could sense that his bloodline was an origin bloodline. Zhao Fu could not afford to offend such a person. Moreover, Zhao Fu's identity was that of a king from a small desolate domain. If he revealed his identity, he would be seeking death, and he would not be able to resist at all. It could be said that if Hao Dao revealed his identity, Zhao Fu would be greatly shocked, and Zhao Fu would not dare to offend him. If Zhao Fu revealed his identity, he might be killed, so Zhao Fu would definitely refuse. Hao Dao did not expect this and asked, "Then how can Sir reveal your identity? Even if it's just a trace of it." Now that he had met someone in the heaven-awakened world who would shake the entire celestial world, Hao Dao definitely wanted to know everything about Zhao Fu, even if it was just a trace. However, Zhao Fu still smiled as he replied, "I'm sorry, but it's impossible for my information to be leaked." Hao Dao felt quite helpless. Seeing that Zhao Fu was not willing to say anything, he did not force him and smiled as he said, "Forget it then. Also, you don't mind being friends with me, right?" Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "Of course I don't mind." Hao Dao also gave a trace of a happy smile, because someone like Zhao Fu would definitely shake the entire celestial world in the future. To be able to become friends with someone of this level was definitely a very good thing. Hao Dao continued to speak. "What plans does Sir have after the God competition ends?" "I plan to properly travel around the godly world with Sir." Zhao Fu replied, "I don't have such plans. After the God competition ends, I'll take them back to where I came from." Hao Dao felt quite disappointed. He had wanted to use this opportunity to understand Zhao Fu better, but Zhao Fu wanted to go back to where she came from. He naturally could not go with her, as it was impossible for Zhao Fu's identity to be leaked. How could he take him to where Zhao Fu was? In the end, Hao Dao could only shorten the time. "Then we'll meet again if fate wills it. If you go to the celestial world and want to find me, you can go to the 7th immortal domain to find the Yuandao family." Zhao Fu naturally did not know what the 7th immortal domain was, but he nodded and smiled as he said, "I understand, we'll meet again if there's a chance." Tian Yu listened by the side. He had wanted to find out some information about Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu did not reveal anything at all. He did not go over to talk to Zhao Fu because he had never talked to Zhao Fu before. Moreover, he was currently talking and laughing with Hao Dao. Both of them were extremely terrifying existences, and if he went over now, it would be quite awkward. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy covered everyone, and everyone understood that everyone was about to be forcefully teleported out of the secret realm. In the next second, everyone else was teleported out of the secret realm, and those who remained in the secret realm appeared on the stage, including Hao Dao and Tian Yu. Countless people's gazes were gathered on the stage, searching for a person's figure. They could not help but feel excited and moved. They wanted to see that person, the second king of kings. The various experts were the same. Of course, there were many people who wanted to capture Zhao Fu and obtain all of Zhao Fu's secrets and power. They felt incredibly nervous and wanted to capture Zhao Fu the instant he came out. However, after everyone looked over, they could not find Zhao Fu's figure, nor could they find any of those women. Chapter 2256. The countless people who had been looking forward to this were all disappointed. At the same time, they felt quite strange as to why they had not been teleported out. Under normal circumstances, they would have been teleported to this stage. In actuality, when that power had covered everyone, Zhao Fu had given off a wave of 10,000 godly power to change the direction of the teleportation. He had also used his power to cover the women and teleport them to another place. The terrifying experts used their wills to search their surroundings but could not find anything, so they could only give up. Boom, 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 massive explosions sounded out as experts giving off powerful auras descended. There were not just experts from the heaven-awakened world but also experts from the half-celestial world that could not normally be seen. The massive might seem to cause the air in that region to freeze, and even from far away, one could sense how terrifying that place was. The godly world's experts were not surprised at all because even the Haotian mirror had come out. This matter was incredibly important, and no one would ignore it. The outer world's experts stood on a mountain and looked at the heaven-awakened world seriously. That light has finally disappeared. It was so terrifying, and it was the first time I had seen such a terrifying light. Even the insects, who had the outer world's will, felt afraid. It's also the first time I've seen such a terrifying light, and it's the first time I've seen the insects look so afraid. I was also quite afraid of that light, and I felt that the white light had the same power as the outer world's will. Was it really that terrifying? The outer world's will is an existence that rules over the outer world, and its power surpasses countless people's imaginations. It can even casually kill celestials. Was that white light really that terrifying? That's right. Was it really that terrifying? Only the heaven-awakened world's will has that kind of power, but that white light didn't have the heaven-awakened world's will. What was going on? Do you know what that thing is? We've fought with the heaven-awakened world for so many years, but we don't know about such a terrifying thing. I think we should go into the heaven-awakened world to see what's going on. I agree. That white light's power is simply too terrifying, and we can't act rashly. Perhaps we'll suffer greatly because of that thing, so it's best to prepare early. In the battle between the alchemy world and heaven-awakened world, the alchemy world had a greater advantage and was suppressing the heaven-awakened world. However, when the countless rays of white light penetrated through the world and shone on their world, the many powerful alchemy factions were so frightened that they stopped their attacks and gathered together for a discussion. This white light is definitely not an ordinary white light. It's a white light that contains the entire world's source energy, which is why it can cause the elements to collapse. If we're found by that white light, we'll die very miserably. That's right. When I sensed the elemental collapse, I immediately gave the order to retreat. However, there were still a small number of people who were unable to escape. Their bodies disintegrated into countless dust particles, and they let out miserable screams. I wonder where that white light came from, but it actually contained the source energy of a great thousand world. We need to properly investigate this matter and see just what happened in the heaven-awakened world. I think so too. We haven't been fighting with the heaven-awakened world for long, and even though we have some advantages, we can't underestimate them. As such, we should stop attacking for now and gather information about the heaven-awakened world. That's right, the most important thing right now is not to attack but to investigate what terrifying thing happened in the heaven-awakened world for giving off countless rays of terrifying white light. That's the most important thing right now. Then let's discuss how to gather information in the heaven-awakened world. We need to be careful and not be discovered by the other side, or else things will become even more difficult to deal with. It was not just the people from the two worlds who were shocked. The heaven-awakened world's soldiers and experts who were fighting in the two worlds were also shocked by that light. What kind of light was this for it to be able to pierce through worlds? Everyone was incredibly shocked. Moreover, seeing the chaos people and gold refiner people run away in fear, they felt even more shocked and excited, and they hurried back to investigate just what had happened. In the end, they heard about an existence that caused them to feel incredibly shocked and disbelief. It was the world-shaking second king of kings, the person with 7 supreme emperor stars. All of this had been caused by this person. Heavens, how could such a terrifying person appear in the heaven-awakened world? How could we not know about this? This is an unforgivable mistake. That's right. That person has long since shaken the entire heaven-awakened world and caused massive ripples. He's the most important person in the heaven-awakened world, and yet we did not know about such a person. This is simply inexcusable. With 7 supreme emperor stars, that person is the #1 person in the heaven-awakened world. Our world has never had such a terrifying person before. It's simply too shocking. When I heard this news, I was also shocked. Just thinking about it makes me feel extremely terrified. Moreover, it's a terror that surpasses my imagination, an unforeseeable terror. It really scared me. Such a person's potential is indeed unfathomable, and he'll definitely be even more terrifying than we expected. Such a person is a massive threat to us, and we can't allow him to continue to grow. That's right. If such a terrifying person grows up, who will be able to survive in the future? When that time comes, we'll be doomed. We must kill him, we can't let him live. He's not someone we can kill just because we want to. Right now, the entire Heaven Awakened world is searching for him, but there's no news at all. That person has heaven-defying luck, and it won't be easy to kill him. I'm quite curious. Just who is the second King of Kings? He caused such a huge commotion but did not reveal any information about his identity. Even if he's someone from the Heaven Awakened world, I greatly admire his abilities. Such a genius has never appeared in our world before. If it wasn't for the fact that many people have personally witnessed his power, I wouldn't have believed it. He's indeed an incredibly shocking person. Now, Zhao Fu's name had shaken both worlds, and all sorts of news continuously spread. Most people in both worlds knew about such a terrifying person. They all looked incredibly shocked. The ones who felt the most shocked were the geniuses who had thought that no one could compare to them. Now, they knew that there was a person who was far more terrifying than them. Chapter 2257. Zhao Fu did not know about any of this, and he was currently playing with the Golden Flower Ancestor's body. Half an hour ago, after Zhao Fu and the others teleported out and confirmed that there was no danger, Zhao Fu told the Golden Flower Ancestor where they were through the demonic energy. The Golden Flower Ancestor was one of the 7 wondrous flowers and was quite important to Zhao Fu. As such, Zhao Fu could not just leave her there and run away. Following this, the Golden Flower Ancestor hurried over. She had never thought that there would be so many women by Zhao Fu's side, and she looked quite displeased. She had bitterly waited for Zhao Fu, while Zhao Fu was having fun. As such, Zhao Fu decided to make it up to her. A while later, the Golden Flower Ancestor panted as she leaned against Zhao Fu with a red face. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'm sorry for making you wait for so long. Are you satisfied?" The Golden Flower Ancestor's face was red as she nodded and smiled as she said, "Husband, news about you has long since spread. By now, your deeds have already spread far and wide. There is practically no one in the God realm who doesn't know of you." Zhao Fu did not mind and smiled as he said, "It's nothing. Let's go back together." Xin Qianhua went up and hugged Zhao Fu as she smiled and said, "We also want it." However, Zhao Fu smiled as he rejected her and said, "Not now. I'll satisfy you when we get back. Right now there are countless people looking for me, and this place is not very safe." Xin Qianhua did not continue and smiled as she hugged Zhao Fu and nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and the others continued on their way back. After another half a month, Zhao Fu finally returned to the border region of the God realm, where the Pantheon Palace was. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned, the Jade Goddess and the others were so happy that they could not speak. They leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and tightly hugged Zhao Fu, afraid that Zhao Fu would once again leave. Following this, they pulled Zhao Fu into a room. The room was filled with women's lewd voices. Goddesses kept joining in, such as the Star Goddess, the Sun Goddess, and the Earth Goddess and her daughters. A day later, Zhao Fu hugged the naked beauty with a flushed face and started to ask about the development of the faction and what had happened while he was gone. The various goddesses started explaining things to Zhao Fu. The Pantheon Temple was developing quite well and was now the most powerful place in this place. It had the area of 2 worlds and more than 2,000 gods. The Pantheon's population had reached more than 20 billion, and the army of 10,000 gods had reached 2 billion. They had completely grasped the power of the 10,000 gods and were much stronger than before. There were almost no forces in this place that could resist Pantheon, which was why Pantheon had developed so quickly. Now, there was no need for Zhao Fu to worry about anything. The Pantheon Temple could continue to develop at this speed. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this outcome and hugged the women as he said, "It's been hard on you all these days." The women all gave happy smiles as they said, "It's not hard at all." Following this, Zhao Fu got up and left the room. The various goddesses put on their clothes and followed beside Zhao Fu, their faces flushed red. Looking at the women's enchanting looks, the female attendants naturally understood what had happened. The female attendants all felt envious that they could serve Zhao Fu, the ruler of the gods. The female attendants did not dare to have any wild thoughts, as only the ruler of the gods could enjoy these goddesses. Zhao Fu's notice in the Pantheon Temple was similar to a religious notice. Not only did he want them to submit to him physically, but he also wanted them to submit to him spiritually. Because this was the god world, the god race's commoners could easily accept this. As such, Zhao Fu became a supreme existence, and he was one of the more fanatical ones. In the underworld's Yellow Springs kingdom, Zhao Fu did not have such great influence. Of course, there, Zhao Fu was a supreme existence, but he did not rule them mentally and physically like in the god world. After hearing that Zhao Fu had finally returned, the other generals and godly spirits all gave happy smiles, and the entire Pantheon Temple became much livelier. It could be said that Zhao Fu was the backbone of the Pantheon Temple, and after his return, the Pantheon Temple became completely different. Zhao Fu came to the Pantheon Temple and looked at the mighty statues within the hall, and gave a trace of a smile. A small portion of the Pantheon Temple was already filled, and soon it would be filled with statues. After walking past these statues, Zhao Fu came to the center of the Pantheon Temple and saw a platinum-colored spear stabbed into a platform, giving off a faint platinum-colored light and a powerful wave of divine power. To Zhao Fu, this wave of divine power was definitely quite weak, as it had only fused with 1,000 or so godly spirits' divine power. Zhao Fu did not know how much divine power he had fused with, and he had fused with 24 overgods' divine power and Haotian's divine power. Zhao Fu's goal in coming here was to send the perfect grade 10,000 gods power into the 10,000 god spear. The 10,000 god spear was the Pantheon Temple's legacy item, and it was the most important thing in the Pantheon Temple. If Zhao Fu fused the 10,000 gods power into it, the 10,000 god spear would become even more powerful and give the Pantheon Temple even more attribute. Perhaps the 10,000 god spear would become a world-suppressing armament, and Zhao Fu planned to split the god world, heaven awaken world, and underworld into the heaven, earth, and human realms. The heaven awaken world had the sealing heavens forbidden land formation and the human book, while the underworld had the sealing heavens forbidden land formation and the earth book. The Pantheon Temple still lacked some statues, and they could also set down the sealing heavens forbidden land formation. When that time came, the heaven book would most likely appear. The Pantheon Temple would rule over the entire heaven realm, and the 10,000 god spear was the core item of the Pantheon Temple, so it would naturally become a world-suppressing armament. This world-suppressing armament was similar to a nation armament in suppressing fate, and it also had world-destroying power. Apart from that, it could also stabilize the world and even control the entire world. Apart from the heaven realm having world-suppressing armaments, the human realm also had world-suppressing armaments, and the earth realm also had world-suppressing armament. Zhao Fu had originally planned to use Qin's nation armament as his world-suppressing armament, but he found that it was not possible. This was because the human realm was the main world that supported the heaven realm and earth realm, so it needed something that contained the world's source energy. Zhao Fu's nation armament, the 12 metal colossi, did not meet this requirement. However, Zhao Fu now had something suitable. Now that Zhao Fu had obtained the origin iron and God's flame, along with the Tao-seeking stone, he would be able to forge the Great Desolate Cauldron. The Great Desolate Cauldron was forged by the Spirit Maiden, who was the human world's consciousness. She was the core of the human world. After the great desolate cauldron was forged, it would fuse with her and contain source energy. It would most likely be the most suitable world-suppressing armament for the human realm. As for an underworld-suppressing armament, Zhao Fu did not have anything suitable, so he could only wait and see. When that time came, the three realms would have corresponding world-suppressing armaments. Chapter 2258. Zhao Fu came to the stage and walked in front of the 10,000 God spear. He stretched out a hand and grabbed the 10,000 God spear. Zhao Fu's body gave off an intense crystalline light as a massive wave of divine power flowed into the 10,000 God spear. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power continuously flowed into the 10,000 God spear, causing it to give off an enormous aura as it excitedly absorbed the 10,000 God power. The rainbow-colored light that the 10,000 God spear gave off became less and less colorful, but the light and power became stronger and stronger. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the 10,000 God spear gave off boundless light, forming an enormous pillar of light that shot into the sky. Clouds swirled as heaven and earth power continuously flowed into it. Within the pillar of light, the 10,000 God spear absorbed the massive amount of heaven and earth power and went through some changes. The platinum material did not change, but a crystal had condensed at the center of the spearhead, giving off resplendent divine light. Divine runes appeared on the spear, looking incredibly complicated and profound. It gave off a terrifying might that covered the surroundings as if it was the ruler of all gods, causing everyone in the surroundings to feel a chill. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the transformed 10,000 God spear gave off boundless crystalline light. The pillar of light became even more intense as it slammed into the sky, causing an even more terrifying wave of divine power to ripple out. Heaven and earth power once again gathered, causing the sky to become rainbow-colored and cover the entire Pantheon Palace, giving off a powerful divine might. Sensing this wave of power, the countless commoners and soldiers felt incredibly excited. They devoutly knelt on the ground and prayed to Zhao Fu. In villages, towns, cities, temples, rooms, and all sorts of places, the sound of prayers rang out, giving the entire pantheon a solemn, sacred, and powerful feeling. It also made people feel like they had faith in it. Suddenly, countless flowers descended from the sky. These flowers had 5 petals, and there were red flowers, azure flowers, green flowers, blue flowers, and violet flowers. The rainbow-colored flowers floated down from the sky, creating a beautiful scene that made people's hearts tremble. After these flowers floated down from the sky, they fused into the bodies of countless commoners and soldiers. Waves of divine power spread through their bodies. Their physiques and powers were changing. Some of their ailments and fatigue were disappearing. Their physique attributes were also increasing. Their powers were slowly transforming into greater divine powers. Even their bloodlines were changing. Under normal circumstances, it was more common for one's physique and power to be changed. However, it was extremely rare for one to be able to change one's bloodline. It was something that could only be achieved by extremely powerful phenomenon fluctuations. The countless commoners and soldiers sensed the changes in their bodies, and their gazes became even more fervent. Their expressions became even more devout, and they knelt on the ground with their hands clasped together as they continuously prayed. The nearby factions saw that the sky in front of them became multicolored and gave off a massive divine might as colorful flowers floated down, making it seem as if it was raining flowers. Although the scene was beautiful, they felt intense fear. That flower gave them an immense sense of pressure. Divine power, bloodline, and spirit could all be felt. What kind of terrifying power is this? The countless factions looked at the rain of flowers in terror, not daring to take a step closer. They had originally been incredibly afraid of such a terrifying faction, but now this faction seemed to have become even more dangerous. Some factions felt that they could not afford to offend it and could only move away, while others planned on submitting to the Pantheon Temple. This place no longer had any faction that could resist the Pantheon Temple, so they only had these two choices. After an hour, the pillar of light dissipated, and the colorful lights disappeared as well. The world once again returned to peace. However, the countless commoners and soldiers still knelt on the ground with their hands clasped together, devoutly and fervently praying to Zhao Fu. These commoners and soldiers would now resolutely carry out Zhao Fu's orders, even if they had to die. However, Zhao Fu naturally would not want them to die. As long as they were his subjects, he would treat them equally. Back at the Pantheon Temple, Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and withdrew his hand. Now that the 10,000 God spear had successfully transformed, its power and attributes would become even more powerful in the future. This was because Zhao Fu had fused with supreme power, and the 10,000 God spear contained Zhao Fu's source energy. In the future, it would definitely become a supreme weapon like the Haotian mirror. Husband, you haven't given us that type of 10,000 God power yet, Xin Qianhua said as she looked at Zhao Fu in anticipation. Zhao Fu's godly power was unimaginably terrifying, and it was the most terrifying supreme godly power in the world. It was not just Xin Qianhua, but even Hao Dao, who had an Emperor's star, would be moved by it. Of course, even though they could have Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power, it would not be as powerful as Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power. However, it would still be of great use to them. Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I will now give you this power." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu stood on the stage and stretched out a hand towards the women below. A massive wave of 10,000 God power flowed out from Zhao Fu's hand, and Zhao Fu's palm gave off boundless crystalline light that shot towards the women. The women felt a massive wave of power enter their bodies, causing their minds to go blank. Their bloodlines and powers quickly became purer and purer. Sensing this wave of power enter her body, Mia Lu felt quite startled because this power had a great effect on her peak imperial bloodline. If she could continuously obtain this power, adding on Zhao Fu's fate, it would be possible for her to raise her bloodline to a divine bloodline. When that time came, she would also have an early-stage divine bloodline. Mia Lu could not help but feel excited. After she obtained an early-stage divine bloodline, her family's bloodline would be affected by her, and those with pure family bloodlines would receive great benefits. Not only would their power stats increase, but it would also be easier for their bloodlines to rise to divine bloodlines. After all, she had already broken through the divine bloodline restriction, and her family no longer had this restriction. This restriction was incredibly difficult to break through. She already had a peak imperial bloodline, but after awakening her Emperor's star, she had not broken through. Under normal circumstances, only when a faction became a divine faction would it be possible to obtain a divine bloodline with boundless fate. It was almost impossible to break through without becoming a divine faction. The benefits of staying by Zhao Fu's side were simply too great. Most likely, even those who hated Zhao Fu to death would choose to stay by Zhao Fu's side if they knew that there were unimaginable benefits. Chapter 2259. After giving the women the 10,000 godly power, Zhao Fu planned to return to Qin City. There were many things that he needed to take care of. As for the godly spirits that Zhao Fu had not personally given the 10,000 godly power, they could also obtain the 10,000 godly power through the 10,000 godly spear. However, the power would not be as great as what Zhao Fu had given them. A few hours later, Zhao Fu returned to the place where he had been teleported to the godly realm. There was now a teleportation channel here, which connected to the teleportation channel in Qin City. Zhao Fu could use the teleportation channel to return to Qin City, or he could use Qin City to return to the godly realm. Everyone wanted to know what Qin City looked like, so they followed Zhao Fu to Qin City. After arriving at Qin City, Bai Qi, Li Si, and the various ministers heard about Zhao Fu's return, and countless people happily gathered by Zhao Fu's side. Within Qin City, Zhao Fu was undoubtedly the backbone of everything, and now that he had returned, Qin City became quite lively. Zhao Fu looked at the familiar faces and could not help but smile. He returned to the palace and sat on the throne, and he asked Li Si, Bai Qi, and the others about Qin City. Nothing major had happened to Qin City, and because of the Kingdom of Heaven's barrier, no one could attack Qin City. As such, Qin City did not have to worry about those enemies at all, and the situation in the outer world was quite normal. Finally, in the alchemy world, the alchemists, who had been pushed back, had come back and launched a few large-scale battles against Qin City. Wang Jian led Qin City's soldiers to defend against these alchemists, but they suffered many casualties. These soldiers were all Stage 2 soldiers, and they quickly made up for the casualties. Qin City could not afford such a war of attrition. Zhao Fu's expression became slightly cold. However, things were different now. Zhao Fu had brought back the time god, and large numbers of time items would appear. When that time came, Qin City and the others would all have Philosopher's Stones. The alchemists no longer had an advantage, as Qin City also had their alchemy power. Moreover, Qin City had some things that countered the alchemists. Now that Qin City had an even greater advantage, the alchemists Zhao Fu would definitely be able to heavily injure them. There was not much to be said about the internal affairs of Qin City. Li Si and the ministers managed the alchemists quite well, and the alchemists were doing quite well. His fate was also very stable, and it was constantly strengthening. It felt very stable and powerful. There were also 4 things that Zhao Fu cared about. The first was nurturing the evil flower demon seed. Before, Zhao Fu had nurtured the evil flower demon seed, which was the evil spirit abyss flower seed. This type of seed was not a true evil flower seed. Instead, it was an ordinary flower that had been corroded by demonic energy and had the ability to control others. This evil million flower seed was still being nurtured, and it would take a while before it could be successfully nurtured. The second matter was the top-grade Stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragons. Qin City did not nurture many of them, and he only had 30 or so proficiently trained them. The results were not very ideal, but there was nothing he could do about it. High-grade dragons were quite difficult to nurture, and Qin City had not nurtured them for a long time. Qin City's main fighting dragon was the Wyvern, and there were now hundreds of thousands of them. The third matter was the Yin Soul Beast. Back then, in order to resist the alchemists, Zhao Fu City had nurtured even more Yin Soul Beasts. The way to nurture Yin Soul Beasts was to seal people in large jars, and after they died, they would contain powerful resentment. Adding on the nourishment of Yin Qi, they would become Yin Soul Beasts. Yin Soul Beasts could fuse with ghost soldiers and give them immense power. The ghost soldiers had not been successfully nurtured yet, and it would take some time. However, once they were successfully nurtured, Qin City would have 2 billion Stage 2 soldiers. The final matter was that the War God's Fury had been completed. Hearing this news, Zhao Fu could not help but feel delighted. As long as the War God's Fury was successfully nurtured, it would become a powerful weapon for Qin City. Originally, the War God's Fury had almost been completed, but Zhao Fu had everyone combine their alchemy power, making the War God's Fury even more terrifying. Zhao Fu wondered what the War God's Fury had become. Zhao Fu decided to go and take a look later, so he went out to take care of other things. The first matter was the most important, which was to create the Philosopher's Stone. With the Philosopher's Stone, Qin City's overall strength would greatly increase. Zhao Fu had long since discussed the matter of creating a large number of items containing time power with the 3 sisters. This required setting up a large forbidden region, as nurturing such items would cause space-time to fall into chaos. Once any creature entered, they would be lost within the chaotic time, so it was a forbidden region. However, this was also a formless protection, and it would be very difficult for anyone to enter the depths of the forbidden region. Zhao Fu marked out 100 regions at the edge of the human world where there were few people. Right now, most of the powerful items that Qin City was nurturing were in the human world and were not nurtured in other worlds. After all, the human world was the foundation of the Qin Empire, so these important things naturally had to be placed in the human world. Following this, Zhao Fu ordered people to prepare countless materials and brought the three sisters to that region. Zhao Fu first ordered people to set up a massive magic formation that was roughly 100,000 meters wide. It was incredibly complex and profound, and it was carved out by thousands of Qin City's talisman masters. This magic formation was the space-time crystallization magic formation, which could condense time power. It was a powerful magic formation that the three sisters had mastered, but it could only be activated by a time god. Now that Zhao Fu had time power, he could also activate this magic formation. However, this magic formation needed to be constantly activated, and Zhao Fu did not have that time. Apart from the magic formation, they also needed to build 3 talisman lighthouses. This was not too difficult, and after a while, the 3 talisman lighthouses were completed. The 3 talisman lighthouses were located at the center of the magic formation, forming a triangle. Each talisman lighthouse was 1,000 meters tall and was made of bronze. There were many runes carved on them. The top of the lighthouse was very thin and looked like a massive bronze needle. There was a 10 or so meter wide space at the top, and it looked like a pavilion. There was also a time magic formation engraved on the ground. Following this, the 3 time goddesses activated the space-time crystallization magic formation. However, before this, they had to evacuate some of the people living here and the talisman masters. Otherwise, if spacetime became chaotic and they got lost in the chaotic time, it would be difficult for Zhao Fu to save them. After all unrelated people evacuated, the 3 time goddesses flew to the 3 bronze talisman lighthouses and stood on the time magic formation at the top. Zhao Fu also retreated to the side. Chapter 2260. Boom, boom, boom. 3 massive explosions sounded out as the 3 time goddesses gave off massive amounts of time power. Time ripples appeared around their bodies as the magic formations beneath their feet activated and started to spin. A formless time power spread out as the runes on the 3 lighthouses lit up and gave off boundless bronze light. A massive aura spread out as massive amounts of time power continued to spread out. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the massive time magic formation was activated, giving off boundless light as a massive wave of power spread out, covering the surrounding 100 regions. Immediately, countless traces of time power flooded towards the center of the magic formation. The time power at the center of the magic formation was highly condensed, and bronze crystals started to condense. Moreover, they became larger and larger until they formed pieces of bronze. At this moment, the surrounding 100 regions fell into chaos, as if they had been divided into many different spaces. In some places the sun was shining brightly, in some places it was already dark, in some places it was raining, in some places it was cloudless, in some places the vegetation had withered, and in some places there was lush greenery. Without a doubt, this formed a time trap, and anyone who stepped into it would fall into it. Moreover, they would be trapped within that time trap and would not be able to escape at all. As time passed, the bronze at the center of the magic formation continuously condensed. By now, it was 100 meters wide and looked like a small mountain. Zhao Fu had the 3 time goddesses stop the time magic formation and went before the massive bronze. He picked up a fist-sized piece of bronze and sensed it. The time power contained within this piece of bronze was not very powerful to Zhao Fu, but it was already much more powerful than ordinary items that contain time power. It could be used as a material for the Philosopher's Stone. Moreover, it was quite fast. To be able to condense such a large piece of bronze in such a short period of time, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this. Now, it was time to maintain the magic formation and continuously condense bronze. Zhao Fu named this bronze Time Bronze. The 3 time goddesses did not need to stay here all the time. As long as they could maintain the magic formation, it would be fine. Zhao Fu left everything here to the 3 time goddesses. At the center of the magic formation, the flow of time was relatively stable, and there were no disturbances. Later, Zhao Fu planned to order people to build a palace here for the 3 time goddesses to live in. After dealing with this matter, Zhao Fu ordered people to build 12 temples. Next, Zhao Fu had to do the second important thing, which was the matter of the 12 zodiac. Not only did the 12 zodiac beasts possess the power of time, but they also possessed the power of the zodiac beasts. Most importantly, they could make the fate of Qin stronger and more stable. They could also bestow the power of the zodiac beasts to every citizen of Qin, strengthening their fate. Such a powerful ability was extremely rare and shocking. It could increase the overall strength of a country. Leaving the 12 temples for his subordinates to continue their cultivation, Zhao Fu summoned the 12 goddesses of the zodiac to Qin's place of inheritance. Now, in Qin's land of inheritance, Zhao Fu had specially built a palace, and it was very luxurious. Zhao Fu hadn't been to this place for a long time. At the center of the palace, Qin's legacy stone gave off a rainbow-colored light as it floated in the air. There were many nation armaments around it. These nation armaments had been obtained by Qin from conquering other kingdoms. Zhao Fu had also sent a large number of soldiers to guard this place, and there were also countless restriction formations breaking out. This was the core of the entire Qin Empire, and no accident could be allowed here. Zhao Fu stood in front of the legacy stone and smiled as he looked at the 12 beautiful women in front of him. They were the rat goddess, cow goddess, tiger goddess, rabbit goddess, dragon goddess, snake goddess, horse goddess, sheep goddess, monkey goddess, chicken goddess, dog goddess, and pig goddess. Some of them did not know why Zhao Fu had called them here, and the Naga said flirtatiously, "Your Majesty, I'm very curious. Why did you call us here? You haven't done anything to us in a long time." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "I called you here for something very important. It's good news for the 12 of you. You will all become Qin's 12 most important goddesses." The monkey goddess looked delighted and curious as she asked, "What is it, Your Majesty?" Zhao Fu told them about the 12 zodiacs, and the women all smiled. This was an opportunity for them to ascend to the heavens in a single step. Before, the 12 of them had been Zhao Fu's ordinary concubines and enjoyed the treatment of ordinary concubines. Now that they had become so important, their statuses had risen by 10 or so times, and they had great authority in Qin. Moreover, they were quite important to Zhao Fu, so they could make more requests of Zhao Fu and receive more of Zhao Fu's favor. Zhao Fu took out the 12 orbs of light and gave them to the 12 goddesses. Following this, the 12 goddesses followed Zhao Fu's instructions and sat cross-legged around the legacy stone, forming a circle with the legacy stone at the center. They placed the 12 orbs of light in front of them and closed their eyes as they started to absorb their power. The orbs of light gave off traces of power that continuously fused into the 12 goddesses' bodies, and the 12 goddesses' bodies gave off different colored light. The orbs of light became smaller and smaller, and the light from the 12 goddesses' bodies became brighter and brighter. Their auras also became more and more powerful, causing the palace to feel quite oppressive. In the end, the orbs of light became smaller and smaller, and when they were only as big as an egg, they automatically flew into the 12 goddesses' bodies. The 12 goddesses' bodies trembled, and after their godhoods absorbed the orbs of light, they gave off powerful divine power. Their godhoods also gave off intense light as if they were going through changes. Time gradually passed, and the godhoods within the 12 goddesses' bodies became animal-shaped. There were 12 types of animals, such as rats, cows, tigers, rabbits, dragons, snakes, horses, sheep, monkeys, chickens, dogs, and pigs. Each of them was not very big, only as big as a walnut. They were also made of crystals, and they gave off different colored lights and different powers. The godhoods had all been rhombus-shaped crystals, and now that they had turned into animal shapes, it was quite surprising. After the 12 godhoods turned into 12 animals, the 12 goddesses' bodies' power and auras went through shocking changes. They were completely different from before, and the auras and power they gave off were all Zodiac's auras and power. This type of Zodiac power was many times more powerful than the power they had before, so their bodies gave off a godly might. They were no longer weak godly spirits from before, but rather like extremely powerful godly spirits, causing people to feel reverence towards them. Chapter 2261. After becoming the 12 Zodiac gods, the 12 goddesses opened their eyes and gave off different colored holy light, giving off a holy and inviolable aura. Boom, boom, boom. Rumbling sounds rang out as the 12 goddesses looked at the legacy stone floating in the center, giving off waves of powerful Zodiac power. Traces of different colored aura flowed out from their bodies and formed 12 animals above their heads. A rat, a cow, a tiger, a rabbit, a dragon, a snake, a horse, a sheep, a monkey, a chicken, a dog, and a pig. After the 12 animals were formed, they seemed to be alive and started to move in the air before giving off massive auras and flying towards the legacy stone. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 12 animals fused into the legacy stone, exploding out with terrifying power. The entire human world felt this power, and they felt as if they had fallen into an abyss, causing them to feel terror. The heavens and earth started to change as clouds swirled, and the aura became chaotic. Traces of black dragon-like aura rose up from the ground and the sky, and they flooded towards Qin's imperial palace. Bai Qi, Xianru, Li Si, and the other ministers sensed these massive changes, but they were not too surprised. They knew that His Majesty was doing something terrifying. Every time he came back from outside, he would do this, so there was nothing to be surprised about. After the legacy stone absorbed countless traces of Qin's fate, it gave off an intense rainbow-colored light and an extremely terrifying might. Qin's legacy stone had already leveled up to a very high level, and it had 3 colors. Now that it had fused with the 12 Zodiac gods, Qin's legacy stone went through changes. Waves of terrifying power continuously flowed out, causing people to feel quite shocked. Qin's legacy stone had been shaped like a cube, and it now had 12 sides. Each side had a picture of an animal, the 12 Zodiac gods. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out as the 12 images appeared. The legacy stone gave off boundless black light and turned into a massive ray of black light that shot into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. A massive black pillar of light stood between the heavens and the earth, giving off an incredibly powerful aura. It continuously spread out like a tidal wave, giving off a soul-stirring yet insignificant feeling. Bai Qi, Xianru, and the others felt quite surprised. This terrifying aura was not a small matter, and they started to walk towards the Qin imperial palace. Zhou Xiaoyun and Qing Mu, who had been playing in the Qin Empire, looked at the huge pillar of light in shock. They had just heard that Zhao Fu had returned and were planning to ask Zhao Fu why he had disappeared for such a long time, causing them to wait for a long time. Now they had stayed with Qin for a long time and had been investigating all aspects of Qin. They felt that Qin seemed to be covered by a mysterious veil. However, from the information that Qin had leaked, they knew that Qin was really terrifying. Qing Mu and Zhou Xiaoyun had wanted to send out the information they had obtained, but ever since Heaven's Barrier had been activated, Nothing from the outside could enter or leave, so they could not leave even if they wanted to. When they went to find Zhao Fu, they found out that Zhao Fu had left Qin. They had thought that Zhao Fu would only disappear for a few days, and had never thought that he would disappear for so long. They wondered what bad things he had gone to do. They did not know that Zhao Fu had awakened another god race Emperor Star, and had caused the godly world's supreme weapon to descend. This had shaken a few great worlds, including the alchemy world and the outer world. Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Mu naturally knew some information about the second king of kings. After all, this was such a shocking matter. However, they had never thought that the terrifying king of kings was the ruler of the Qin Empire. One was in the sky while the other was on the ground. No one would connect these two terrifying people together. Even if Zhao Fu personally told them, they would think that Zhao Fu was lying. No one would believe Zhao Fu, unless Zhao Fu brought down 7 Emperor Stars. Looking at this pillar of light, they understood that Qin was going to go through massive changes. They could not help but feel admiration for Qin. Such terrifying growth and potential was something that their kingdoms could not compare to. With their strength, they definitely would not be able to subdue such a kingdom. If it wasn't for the fact that they were so far away, they felt that their kingdoms would have been destroyed by Qin. As fate continuously flowed into the Pillar of Light, the aura that the Pillar of Light gave off became incredibly terrifying, and almost everyone in Qin could sense it. Boom! 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 12 massive explosions sounded out as the 12 zodiac goddesses stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of zodiac power entered the legacy stone at the center, and 12 animals appeared in the sky. They were a rat, a cow, a tiger, a rabbit, a dragon, a snake, a horse, a sheep, a monkey, a chicken, a dog, and a pig. All of them were incredibly large and gave off different colored lights, causing the sky to become 12 different colors and giving off massive might. Within Great Qin, countless people looked at the 12 zodiacs in shock, not understanding what was going on. Suddenly, the 12 animals started to spin, forming a rainbow-colored circle. A massive wave of zodiac power spread out, and countless rainbow-colored motes of light floated down from the sky. The motes of light fused into the countless residents' bodies, and images of animals appeared from their bodies. The image of a sheep appeared above a strong-looking man's head. The image of a mouse appeared above a little girl's head. The image of a pig appeared above an elderly person's head. The image of a snake appeared above a middle-aged woman's head, and the image of a dog appeared above a young man's head. These images were not very big, and they were only as big as watermelons. These were the zodiac images of ordinary people, and those who had great fate had 10 or so meter-wide zodiac images above their heads and gave off powerful auras. Now, everyone in Qin, from the commoners to the nobles, felt quite confused. They looked at the zodiac images and could not understand what was going on. However, even though they did not know what was going on, they could feel that there were great benefits. After the zodiac images appeared, their minds and bodies seemed to become a bit better. Some of the more powerful people who could sense fate felt quite shocked because they clearly understood how great the benefits were. They could sense that the zodiac had fused with their fate, causing their fate to become even more stable and powerful. This would greatly affect their fates. Chapter 2262. There were very few things in the world that could change one's fate. Every single one of them was extremely rare and precious, and they were all very powerful. However, the thing that His Majesty had unleashed could affect the fate of all of Great Qin's people. This was almost impossible, and yet His Majesty had been able to do it. This made Zhao Fu feel even more respect towards Zhao Fu. Qing Mu and Jiu Shaoyun also looked at the zodiac signs above the heads of the Qin people. They could clearly sense the changes in the people of Qin, which was why they were so shocked. Why didn't they? The two of them understood the reason as soon as they thought about it. All the people here were the people of Qin, except for the two of them. Only the people of Qin could have the zodiac, so they didn't have the zodiac. They also understood the importance of this matter. How could Qin have such an ability? Now, they just wanted to send out the information they had obtained in Qin City, so that the people of the forces would pay more attention to Qin City. They felt that Qin City would definitely become a terrible force beyond their imagination. Seeing that the fluctuation was about to stop, the two of them walked directly to the Qin Imperial Palace. At this time, the beam of light in the sky disappeared. The 12 zodiac beasts were gone as well. Everything returned to normal. In the Legacy Land, Zhao Fu smiled. Now that the 12 Chinese zodiacs had fused with Qin's nation fate had been greatly strengthened and stabilized. In the future, as long as a person was born in Qin, they would have a corresponding Chinese zodiac. The zodiac sign born this year was the rat, the one born next year was the ox, and the one born the year after that was the tiger. This continued until the 12th year, when the zodiac signs rotated again and again. After the 12 goddesses became the 12 zodiac goddesses, their strength and aura greatly increased, and their appearances also became more attractive. At that moment, they stood up from the ground and bowed to Zhao Fu with smiles on their faces. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu chuckled and said, "I will also specially build 12 temples for you. In the future, I will also leave the matters of that aspect to you." The girls were pleasantly surprised. Their status was not ordinary anymore. The snake goddess went up to Zhao Fu and said flirtatiously, "Your Majesty, now let us serve you together." The other zodiac goddesses also came forward with charming or expectant expressions, surrounding Zhao Fu. They had been looking forward to this day. Zhao Fu felt a little helpless. Looking at the beautiful 12 zodiac beasts beside him, he really wanted to enjoy them. However, before he made a breakthrough in his cultivation technique, Zhao Fu really couldn't touch women. The snake goddess couldn't wait any longer. Back in Otherworld, Zhao Fu had doted on her every day, and she had long since grown accustomed to such blissful days. Now that so much time had passed, she simply couldn't wait any longer. Therefore, the snake goddess put her arms around Zhao Fu's neck and started to get intimate with Zhao Fu. The other zodiac goddesses also joined in. The indescribable voices of the 12 zodiac goddesses rang out continuously in the palace, making people's hearts race and faces flush. An hour later, Zhao Fu had a bitter smile on his face as he hugged the naked zodiac goddesses. Zhao Fu was still unable to do it with them, so he could only satisfy them in other ways. He didn't know when his cultivation technique would break through. The feeling of only being able to look but not touch was torturous. "Your Majesty, your cultivation technique needs to break through quickly. I'm not satisfied with it right now," the snake goddess said as she lay on Zhao Fu's body with a flushed face. Zhao Fu said helplessly, "I don't know what's wrong with my cultivation technique. I want to break through as soon as possible, but I can't find a way." Goddess Ma smiled as she said, "Your Majesty, you can't always be like this. Otherwise, what will we do in the future? What about all the women in Qin's imperial palace? For our sake, you have to quickly break through your cultivation technique." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Just as Zhao Fu was about to leave and deal with some other matters, a voice sounded out from outside the door. It was said that Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun wanted to see him. After such a long time, Zhao Fu had almost forgotten about them. It was time to take care of their matters as soon as possible, so Zhao Fu said, "Tell them to come here." The guard outside the door obeyed the order, and brought the two women in a short while. By now, the women had already put on their clothes, and their faces were slightly red as they stood next to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun and smiled as he said, "What do you two want?" Princess Qingmu unhappily harumphed, "Where have you been for so long? You made me wait for you for so long." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I left Qin to deal with some matters." Princess Qingmu raised her head and said proudly, "We want to leave this place. Let us go." Also, what happened just now? Why did different animals appear above the heads of Qin's people? Zhao Fu looked at Princess Qingmu and replied, "These are the 12 zodiac animals. They can increase the kingdom's fate and the people's fate." Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun were quite surprised. Why was Zhao Fu, who usually refused to reveal any information, willing to tell them these things? Jiu Shaoyun asked seriously, "How can I obtain the 12 zodiac animals?" The 12 zodiac animals could increase the kingdom's fate and the fate of countless people. They were very important to any country and would be of great help to the entire country. As such, Jiu Shaoyun really wanted to know how to obtain the 12 zodiac animals. Princess Qingmu naturally cared about this as well, and she said, "Yes. Tell me quickly, I want to know as well." Zhao Fu replied simply, "This is an opportunity that I obtained outside. You can't have the 12 zodiac animals." Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun were somewhat disappointed. Seeing that Zhao Fu was willing to tell them Qin's secrets and try to get more information, Jiu Shaoyun asked, "Can we ask you something else? If you can answer me, the Wine Cloud Kingdom is willing to form an alliance with you and become your best friend. I might even become your concubine." Seeing Jiu Shaoyun say this, Princess Qingmu said, "As long as you can tell us everything we want to know, the Greenwood Kingdom can also be your ally. With our help, you won't have to be afraid of the enemies outside and won't have to hide here anymore. Also, I don't intend to become your concubine. Do you understand?" Now, they understood that Qin's strength was very terrifying and mysterious. It was best to be friends with such a force. It would be very terrifying if they became enemies. Although this place was divided into 5 parts, they believed that the final victor would most likely be Qin. If Qin won, it would naturally be of great benefit to their forces. As such, they decided to form an alliance with Qin. Chapter 2263. Zhao Fu could not help but chuckle. Qin Mu said somewhat angrily, "What kind of attitude is that? Qin is currently being besieged by a few large factions and needs our help. You'd best curry favor with us, otherwise we won't help Qin." Zhao Fu smiled at Aoki Makoto. "I think you misunderstood something? Now Qin is not afraid of them, nor is it afraid of your 2 kingdoms. You 2 will stay in Qin from now on. Don't think about leaving." Qing Mu and Jiu Shaoyun were alarmed. They were not afraid of a few factions, but they were not afraid of their 2 kingdoms? These words were too arrogant. Zhao Fu wasn't crazy? He didn't look crazy, so why was he so arrogant? Jiu Shaoyun also felt that something was wrong, because not only did Zhao Fu arrogantly say that he was not afraid of their power, but he also wanted to imprison them in Qin. No wonder he was willing to tell Qin's secret. Princess Aoki angrily glared at Zhao Fu and said, "Your words make me very angry. Hurry up and apologize to me, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Jiu Shaoyun understood that it was impossible for her to escape, so she said seriously, "Now that Qin is facing a few major forces and is under a lot of pressure, there's no need to add 2 more enemies. Moreover, these 2 enemies are stronger than the other major forces. Even if you don't want to be friends with us, there's no need to treat us as enemies." There was a trace of a smile on Zhao Fu's face. He did not say anything and walked towards the 2 of them. Aoki Muzu harumphed and was not afraid at all. She gave off a powerful aura and attacked towards Zhao Fu. The only way to escape from here was to capture Zhao Fu. That would make everything easier, and he could even force Qin to submit to him. Aoki Muzu gave off a powerful aura as he charged at Zhao Fu and punched out, sending out a ray of azure light towards Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and easily grabbed her fist before pulling her into his embrace and hugging her. Aoki Muzu felt quite startled. She was one of the top 10 geniuses of the ancient STEM domain. How could she not be able to retaliate against Zhao Fu? This person was so powerful. She had underestimated him. Aoki Muzu struggled in Zhao Fu's embrace. However, Zhao Fu lowered his head and kissed her, causing the 6 desires' demonic qi to continuously flow into her body. Aoki Mizu's resistance became weaker and weaker, and she started to intensely respond to Zhao Fu. By the side, Jiu Xiaoyun felt quite startled. She had never thought that Zhao of Zhao Fu would be so easily. After a while, Zhao Fu of Fu. Princess Qingmu's face was red as she breathed raggedly in Zhao Fu's embrace. She hugged Zhao Fu with her arms, a lustful look in her eyes. Zhao Fu turned to look at Jiu Xiaoyun, who had a seductive figure. Jiu Xiaoyun understood that she was not a match for Zhao Fu, and she did not feel any disgust towards Zhao Fu. She had always felt that Zhao Fu had a charm that attracted her, so she did not object to becoming Zhao Fu's concubine. She took the initiative and flirtatiously smiled as she walked over to Zhao Fu and wrapped her arms around Zhao Fu's neck as she started to act affectionately with Zhao Fu. She could sense why Aoki Mizu had fallen so quickly. This sort of feeling was simply unstoppable. She even took off her clothes, wanting to do it with Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu let go of her and smiled as he said, "All right. In the future, you two will be my concubines and stay in Qin." Aoki Mizu harumphed. "I don't want to." Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at her and said domineeringly, "You don't have a choice. Now, you can only become my concubine." Aoki Mizu angrily glared at Zhao Fu and cursed, "You're a bastard." Jiu Xiaoyun lightly laughed as she teased, "Mizu, you weren't like this when you were being affectionate with him just then." Hearing this, Aoki Mizu's face became bright red and she felt quite embarrassed. She had never thought that she would take the initiative and had only wanted to do it with Zhao Fu. Even though she had said that she did not like it, she still enjoyed the feeling of being in his embrace. Jiu Xiaoyun was much more normal and hugged Zhao Fu as she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and smiled as she said, "Emperor, can you tell me everything now?" Zhao Fu felt quite startled and could not help but lightly laugh as he said, "How did you find out who I was?" Aoki Mizu looked quite confused and did not understand why Jiu Xiaoyun had suddenly called Zhao Fu emperor. Wasn't he just a king at the border? What surprised her even more was that Zhao Fu didn't retort. Jiu Xiaoyun happily smiled as she said, "During the ancient stem banquet, I was attracted by your aura. Only after kissing you did I confirm that you're the mysterious emperor who shook the entire ancient stem domain." Aoki Mizu immediately felt quite shocked. The person in front of her was the mysterious emperor who had shaken a few large domains. Before, the entire ancient stem domain had been madly searching for him. She had never thought that he would be here. At that moment, Jiu Xiaoyun stretched out her hand and took off the cloak that was covering Zhao Fu's appearance, revealing Zhao Fu's peerlessly beautiful face. Now that Aoki Mizu had personally seen Zhao Fu's appearance, she did not doubt it at all. Even though Zhao Fu's appearance was much better than before, she was still able to recognize him. He was that mysterious emperor from back then, that incredibly terrifying emperor who even the ancient sword sect feared. Back then, she could not help but feel great admiration towards such a terrifying emperor and felt that she was inferior to him. Back then, when she had fought with Zhao Fu, how could she not have thought that Zhao Fu was that mysterious emperor? Wasn't Zhao Fu hiding his strength too deeply? Most likely, no one in the ancient stem domain knew about this. If they had known that Zhao Fu was that terrifying emperor, the various royal kingdoms in the ancient stem domain would have long since come to curry favor with him. After all, they all knew how terrifying this mysterious emperor was. Of course, they could also go crazy and do everything they could to destroy Zhao Fu. Even though Zhao Fu had terrifying potential and power, his true identity was just the king of a small border kingdom, so they did not have to worry about him. They definitely could not allow such a person to exist, or else their fates would be quite terrible. As such, they had to kill Zhao Fu. Aoki Mizu thought back to how Zhao Fu had resisted a world realm expert back then, and that scene was still fresh in her mind. She was confident that Zhao Fu would make the Qin Kingdom a terrifying faction, and no one would be able to stop Qin Kingdom from rising up. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you hide it for so long? If you had said so earlier, I might have become your concubine, Aoki Muzu said as she happily smiled. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, back then, I did not think about it that way. I was indeed afraid of royal kingdoms, so I did not dare to do anything to you. What about now? Do you like me now? Aoki Muzu's face was red as she asked in embarrassment. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. He had just tasted Aoki Muzu, and it was indeed quite good. Hearing this, Aoki Muzu happily hugged Zhao Fu. Jiu Shaoyun smiled as she said, Emperor, since we've become your women, you don't have to hide anything from us anymore, right? Chapter 2264. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, you can go to all the places in Qin. If there's anything you don't know, you can find Li Muqing. I still have things to take care of, so I'll be leaving first. Jiu Shaoyun smiled and nodded, thank you, Your Majesty. Following this, Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Muqing could not help but feel curious and started to look around Qin. Many places in Qin were forbidden areas and they could not enter at all. However, they wanted to know what was inside and what terrifying things might be hidden there. As such, they had tried all sorts of methods to enter, but they had all failed. Now they could enter openly and no one would stop them. After looking at the forbidden areas, Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Muqing's expressions became more and more serious. The hidden strength of Qin was simply too terrifying, and it was beyond what they could bear. They did not believe that the Qin Empire would not become a super-large faction in the future. Zhao Fu came to the flower domain and was about to deal with the golden flower ancestor and flower bell. After going to the god realm and bringing back 2 of the 8 great mystical flowers, Zhao Fu had not expected this. Now Zhao Fu already had the world flower, evil spirit abyss flower, dark night flower, otherworld golden flower, and soul bell tree flower. He was only 3 more to complete the 8 great mystical flowers. Zhao Fu first went to the flower domain palace. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned, the flower fairy was very happy. The 12 madams also came and they also missed Zhao Fu greatly. Following this, some indescribable things happened. Zhao Fu left behind the madams and flower fairies, who were panting on the bed, and went to the edge of the flower domain by himself. Now, Zhao Fu wanted to expand the flower domain, because he needed to nurture the golden flower ancestor's golden soldier ability and the soul bell tree flower's ability to create godly souls. This was especially so for Hualing, the soul bell flower ancestor. She had brought countless godly soul soldiers, so she needed a large area. Zhao Fu picked 2 places and called the golden flower ancestor and Hualing over. Boom! The golden flower ancestor followed Zhao Fu's instructions and came to a flat area. It half squatted on the ground and pressed its hand against the ground, and a massive wave of golden power surged out. The golden flower ancestor's body gave off a golden pillar of light that gave off a massive aura as it shot into the sky. An enormous golden pillar of light appeared in the heavens and earth, and countless traces of heaven and earth power quickly gathered. A massive image of a golden flower giving off boundless golden light and giving off a massive aura slowly appeared within the pillar of light. This flower looked like a peony, and it seemed to be made of gold. Its branches were curved, and there were many golden leaves on it. It wasn't very big, and the flower at the top was very big, like the crown of a tree. Every petal was golden and gave off an intense golden light, dyeing the sky gold and giving off an extremely noble feeling. After the golden flower image appeared, the golden flower ancestor vigorously pressed down on the ground, and a massive wave of golden power exploded out. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the image of the golden flower gave off a massive wave of golden power, and it gave off a massive aura as it spread out in all directions. The ground and sky also started to turn golden. It spread like a tide. In the end, the entire world became golden. At that moment, the golden flower ancestor coldly stood up from the ground. The golden flower disappeared, but the golden world did not disappear. This was because the golden flower ancestor was in existence on the level of a flower ancestor and was no longer restricted by being a plant. It could move around and did not have to stay in one place. This golden land was created with the golden flower ancestor's power. If the golden flower ancestor did not take back the golden power, this golden land would continue to exist. This golden land was mainly used to nurture gold soldiers. The golden flower ancestor's golden power could corrode all sorts of creatures and turn them into gold creatures, giving them immense power. Now that the golden land had been formed, Zhao Fu just had to throw in some creatures or enemies. Their bodies would be continuously corroded by the golden power and would eventually become gold creatures. Zhao Fu also planned to research whether the golden alchemy world's golden arts could be fused with gold creatures. After all, the golden alchemy world's golden arts were related to all sorts of metals, and gold creatures were gold creatures. Perhaps fusing the two together would result in shocking changes. After inspecting the golden land, Zhao Fu brought the two of them to another place. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Hua Ling followed Zhao Fu's instructions and half-squatted on the ground. She pressed a hand against the ground and exploded out with a massive wave of divine soul power, causing countless traces of holy light to fall from the sky. An illusory image of a tree with powerful spiritual energy slowly appeared in the sky. This tree was only 10 or so meters tall and had a trunk that was 3 or 4 meters wide. The trunk was snow-white and had a smooth surface. There were no runes on it, and it did not seem like a tree at all. The tree's crown was quite big, and it spread out like an umbrella. There were many small silver-white flowers blooming on it, and each flower had a divine character imprinted on it. The divine characters flashed and emitted countless crisp sounds of wind chimes. After the divine tree appeared, it gave off boundless light and a silver domain containing massive power spread out, covering the surroundings. Before the tree's flowers disappeared, Hua Ling stood up and waved her hand, causing countless silver seeds to fly out like raindrops. They densely covered the surroundings, and it was impossible to tell how many there were. The seeds gave off faint light and fell from the sky. After landing on the ground, they quickly sprouted and became small trees before growing into large trees. Finally, a forest of flowers was formed in a short period of time, and it gave off a faint fragrance that could make people feel intoxicated. This was the place where Hua Ling nurtured his divine soul. The nurtured divine soul also had a very strong power, and had many uses. Of course, it required countless souls to nurture them, and this required countless godly spirits to be slaughtered. It felt that Qin's development could not be separated from slaughter. Zhao Fu gave the golden land and flower forest to the golden flower ancestor and Hua Ling to manage, and he would also build 2 palaces for them. Even though they did not have to stay here all the time, nurturing gold soldiers and divine souls depended on them, so they would often stay here. After dealing with these matters, Zhao Fu thought about it and found that there were still some things he had to take care of. He felt that there were quite a lot of things to take care of, and it would take him a few days to finish them. In the end, Zhao Fu went to the fish-scale world and ordered people to build a massive temple. He also ordered people to carve a statue out of precious sea jade. Chapter 2265. Now, Zhao Fu had come to deal with the ocean goddess. In the godly world's secret realm, the ocean goddess, one of the 24 core gods, had fused her consciousness into Zhao Fu's body. In order to avoid being sensed by the secret realm, after fusing into Zhao Fu's body, the ocean goddess had sealed herself within Zhao Fu's body and did not give off any information or ripples. Now, she had been successfully brought out by Zhao Fu. Even though the ocean goddess no longer had any divine power, she was one of the 24 core gods, and her power and potential were unfathomable. If she was properly nurtured, she would undoubtedly be one of Qin's most powerful forces. Because the fish scale world was a water world, the ocean goddess was most suited here. As such, Zhao Fu decided to build a godly palace here, and not in the human world. A few hours later, the godly palace's preliminary construction was complete. Later on, it still needed to be decorated, and the statue had been carved. The statue only had a simple humanoid shape and was not very detailed, as it required the godly spirit to fuse with it. It was dark blue and looked like jade, and it was 3 meters tall. Zhao Fu stood in front of the statue and closed his eyes as he sensed the blue orb of light within his body. This was the ocean goddess consciousness that had sealed herself, and now, he just needed to fuse her into the statue. However, Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to do this, as Zhao Fu would not easily trust anyone. Moreover, nurturing the ocean goddess would cost countless resources, so Zhao Fu decided to do some things just in case. Countless traces of 6 desires demonic qi continuously flowed towards the blue orb of light. The blue orb of light could not resist at all, and the 6 desires demonic qi directly flowed into it. A while later, the blue orb of light gave off boundless light, and a woman appeared in Zhao Fu's mind. She had dark blue hair and a beautiful face. She had a mature figure and wore very little, only covering her important parts. She held a spear and gave off a beautiful aura. Her eyes were glistening with tears as she looked at Zhao Fu with a blushing face. She said in a seductive voice, "What did you do to me?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "It's just a restriction, I'll seal it now. Now that you've come to my faction, I've constructed a god palace and god statue for you, you just need to fuse into them." The face of the ocean master god was flushed red as he said with a slight panting tone, "We can talk about that later. I want you right now." Zhao Fu looked quite startled and understood that he had injected too much 6 desires demonic qi into the sea goddess. Now, the sea goddess' reaction was too intense, and she was already deeply affected. However, the crux was that Zhao Fu could not do anything and was about to seal the 6 desires demonic qi within the sea goddess body. Suddenly, the ocean master god pounced at Zhao Fu as though she had lost her mind. Zhao Fu's consciousness automatically turned into a human form and was pinned down by the ocean master god. She then rode on Zhao Fu's body, and it was indescribable. Zhao Fu's face was stunned. He had not expected that this could work. Furthermore, the feeling was no different from a real lovemaking. Zhao Fu did not know how the ocean master god did it. Didn't she have no strength at all? Looking at the ocean master god who was riding on him, Zhao Fu poured out his repressed desires onto her. After a full day, the ocean master god was already lying there like a puddle of mud, panting with a flushed face. Zhao Fu revealed a smile. All the repressed desires were poured out, and his mood was much better. However, Zhao Fu had not had his fill yet. Suddenly, Zhao Fu heard panting sounds within his body, and hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. His consciousness left where he was and went to another place. There was a peerlessly beautiful woman with jet black hair and a pair of golden eyes. She had a fiery figure and white and tender skin. She wore a golden robe and gave off a noble aura. Her appearance was quite similar to Du's. Du was the Emperor Killing Sword's sword spirit, while this woman was Di, the golden dragon within Zhao Fu's body. Now, Di was lying on the ground with a flushed face, her hands on her body as she twisted. The scene was indescribable. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and did not know what had happened. He then thought about it and realized that it was most likely because of the matter with the ocean master god. Seeing Di like this, Zhao Fu did not hesitate and ravaged her in all sorts of ways. Di lewdly responded to Zhao Fu and gave off those blushing moans. As he continuously ravaged Di, Zhao Fu was delighted to find that the bottleneck that the Six Desires celestial art had been stuck at was starting to loosen. Only then did Zhao Fu realize that Di Shi was most likely hiding something from him. Half a day later, Di Shi could not take it anymore. Zhao Fu hugged her and came to the Ocean Master God's side and ravaged them together. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the two of them and gave a smile. The Ocean Master God lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and pouted coquettishly as she said, "You're a bad fellow, but I misjudged you and actually tried to do it with me." Zhao Fu innocently smiled as he said, "Just then, you were the one taking the initiative, I was the victim." The Ocean Master God thought about the crazy things from before and her face became red, too embarrassed to say anything. Di Shi sighed. Zhao Fu hugged her and started to play with the things in front of her chest as he smiled and said, "Have you been hiding something from me?" Di Shi's face became slightly red as she said, Also, have you always had such thoughts about me that you didn't hesitate to ravage me?" Zhao Fu did not hide anything and smiled as he said, "We've been together for so long and are very familiar with each other. Moreover, you've been mine from the start, so there's nothing wrong with me doing this, right?" Di Shi blushed and felt inexplicably happy. "You're right, but I don't plan on giving my body to you. I cultivate the Six Desires celestial art of abstinence, so I can't do it with men. Once I do it with men, I can only walk the carnal art of abstinence." Zhao Fu continued to ask, "Tell me what you're hiding." Di Shi explained, "I've already warned you about the pros and cons of the carnal art of abstinence and the carnal art of abstinence. Abstinence can make one's power purer and make breakthroughs easier. Even though carnal art of abstinence allows one to cultivate quickly and can easily control all sorts of women, if one's power is not pure, it will be very difficult to break through in the later stages. If you can't break through for a long time and can't help but do it with women, your body will be changed by the Six Desires demonic art and you'll become a woman. As long as you do it with many men, you'll become a man again, but your cultivation technique will never be able to break through." Hearing this, Zhao Fu was given a big fright. Become a woman? Do it with countless men? His cultivation technique would never be able to break through? This was not a joke and was an extremely serious matter. Zhao Fu did not want to become a woman. He was the ruler of the Qin Empire. How could he become a woman? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.